Close your eyes, let the weight of the day drift away from your shoulders, sinking deep into the comfort of your bed. Imagine for a moment that the modern world, with its bright lights, constant noise, and endless demands, has simply faded into a gentle velvet darkness. You are standing before the heavy, arched wooden doors of a grand palace in the heart of the 16th century. The air here is different. It smells of beeswax, dried lavender, and the faint sweet scent of burning logs in a massive stone hearth. Welcome to the Tudor court, a world of gilded tapestries and flickering candlelight. Tonight we are not looking for grand battles or the clash of steel. We are here to witness the quiet, often hidden life of a young girl who did not yet know she would change the course of history forever. She was a princess, yet a princess living in the shadow of great, unpredictable storms. She was Elizabeth, the daughter of a king whose name would echo through the centuries, yet a girl whose early days were spent navigating a labyrinth of love, loss, and the heavy burden of royal expectations. Have you ever wondered what it felt like to be a child in a palace where the walls had ears and every whisper carried the weight of a throne? How does a young girl find sleep when her world changes with the shifting tides of politics? Tonight we trace the gentle rhythm of her early years, exploring the classrooms where she learned to master languages, the gardens where she found her only solace, and the quiet chambers where she first learned the art of silence. As we travel back in time, let the steady, rhythmic pacing of these words be your guide, easing you into a state of deep, restorative rest. There is no urgency here, only the soft, flowing story of a girl growing into her own strength amidst the elegance and mystery of the Tudor era. The channel Sleepy History with Kevin is a storytelling platform created for entertainment, inspiration, education, and the promotion of positive emotional values. Deep within the lush, rolling countryside of England, far from the chaotic pulse of London, lay the sanctuary of Hatfield. It is here that we find the young Elizabeth in her earliest, most formative years. Picture the long, sun-dappled galleries of this great house. The stone floors are covered in thick, woven rushes, and the windows, intricate with leaded glass, catch the golden light of the afternoon sun. Outside, the gardens are a tapestry of meticulously clipped hedges, fragrant roses, and winding paths that seem to stretch into an endless, peaceful horizon. For a child of royalty, these were not just rooms, they were a world apart. Here the air was filled with the soft rustle of silk gowns and the muted footsteps of attendants moving with practised grace. Elizabeth, small and observant, moved through these corridors with a natural curiosity. She was a child of bright eyes and sharp intellect, watching the world around her with a stillness that belied her years. She was surrounded by the finest tutors, noble ladies and servants who bowed their heads in silent deference, yet she often sought the quiet corners, the window seats overlooking the park, where she could watch the deer graze in the mist of early morning. But even here, in the heart of the countryside, the distant echoes of the Tudor court found their way to her. The world of King Henry VIII was a world in motion, a landscape defined by grand marriages and sudden sharp shifts in fortune. Elizabeth learned early on that the atmosphere of a palace could change like the weather over the English moors. One day the halls were filled with music and the scent of roasted meats. The next, a heavy sombre quiet would descend, a sign that the political tides had turned once more. She learned to read these moods not through words, but through the tension in the shoulders of those around her, the hushed conversations in the doorways, and the way the tapestries seemed to dampen the sound of every footfall. It was a life of luxury. Yes, fine linen, silver plates, and embroidered cushions, but it was also a life of constant adaptation. The young princess understood, perhaps instinctively, that to thrive in this environment one needed to be as steady as the oak trees in the forest, and as adaptable as the stream that flowed through the estate. She spent long, quiet hours in the library, where the scent of old parchment and leather bindings provided a comforting embrace. These books became her companions, offering a doorway to far-off lands and ancient histories, far removed from the complexities of her own reality. As the light dims in the library, feel the peace of the stacks surrounding you, the knowledge of centuries grounding you, allowing your own thoughts to settle into the stillness of the night. As the morning sun gently illuminates the high chambers of the palace, we turn our attention to the quietest, yet most vibrant part of Elizabeth's childhood, the schoolroom. Here, the air is still, save for the rhythmic scratching of a quill against parchment and the soft, steady voice of a tutor reciting passages from Latin classics. Education for a Tudor princess was not a luxury. It was a rigorous, deliberate shaping of the mind, designed to prepare her for a world that demanded brilliance and ironclad discipline. Imagine the atmosphere. A large oak table sits in the centre of the room, polished to a dull shine. Upon it rest books bound in calfskin, their pages filled with the wisdom of the ages, Greek philosophy, Roman history, and the intricate flowing script of modern languages. Elizabeth, seated on a cushioned stool, listens intently. She is a child of the Renaissance, an era that prized the pursuit of knowledge above almost all else. Under the guidance of men like Roger Ascham, she does not merely learn, she absorbs. She studies the melodies of music, finding peace in the way a lute string vibrates under her touch. She masters the intricacies of French, Italian, and Spanish, her voice weaving through foreign consonants with the precision of a scholar. There is a deep, soothing monotony to this routine, the repetition of verb conjugations, the slow reading of epic poetry, the careful practice of calligraphy. It is a slow, methodical process that demands absolute focus, turning the mind away from the anxieties of the outside world and anchoring it in the beauty of language and thought. She is taught that a ruler must be as learned as they are powerful. Every lesson is an exercise in composure. When she stumbles over a difficult passage, she is encouraged to pause, breathe, and begin again with renewed clarity. This habit of patience, of setting aside frustration in favour of understanding, becomes a cornerstone of her character. She learns that power is not just found in commands, but in the ability to listen, to process, and to respond with grace. The scent of dry ink and ancient paper permeates these hours. The world outside the palace walls may be in flux, but within this room, everything is orderly, logical, and serene. As you listen, imagine yourself in that same quiet room, surrounded by the wisdom of the past. Let the complexity of your own day simplify, just as Elizabeth's world simplified into the elegant geometry of a lesson plan. The lessons are long, the days are slow, and time seems to stretch out in a gentle, endless stream of learning. Beyond the sanctuary of the study, the wider palace life moved to the slow, measured pulse of tradition. Life in the Tudor court was a choreographed dance, where every movement had its place and every person had a designated rank. For young Elizabeth, the palace was a world of endless ceremony. She learned that to walk through the great hall was to be observed, and to sit at the table was to perform a role that required both elegance and deep restraint. Think of the soft echo of footsteps on cold stone floors, muffled by heavy woven tapestries that depicted stories of knights and allegories of virtue. These tapestries were not merely decorations, they were a testament to a world that valued order above all else. Elizabeth moved through these halls with a grace that surpassed her years. She understood that silence was a power in itself. While others might chatter or gossip, she learned to watch, to listen, and to store away the nuances of human behaviour. Every meal was a ritual. The attendants, moving like shadows in their velvet doublets, placed silver platters upon the table with rhythmic precision. The clinking of metal against wood, the murmur of distant conversation, and the steady, low tone of the chaplain reading grace, all of these sounds blended together into a lullaby of structure. There was a safety in this repetition. It provided a framework for her days, a predictable pattern that allowed her to find inner peace even when the outside world felt turbulent. She learned the importance of the pause, the moment between hearing a statement and offering a reply. She saw how others often rushed to speak, their words fueled by ambition or fear, and she chose a different path. She took the time to compose her thoughts, to ensure that every word she spoke was measured and intentional. It was here, in the quiet observation of those around her, that she began to build the fortress of her own character, a sanctuary of self-control that no one could breach. As evening shadows lengthened across the palace floors, casting long, elegant shapes of window frames and pillars, the court would slowly wind down. The hustle of the day dissipated, leaving only the soft glow of dying embers in the hearth. Everything in the palace, from the way a gown was folded to the way a candle was extinguished, was done with a reverence for tradition. Allow this sense of order to wash over you. Let the rigid, comforting structures of the Tudor day help you find your own rhythm, slowing your breathing and guiding you toward the threshold of sleep. All stories on this channel, Sleepy History with Kevin, are fictional, thoughtfully crafted around historical themes and inspired by real events, figures, and periods, reimagined for engaging storytelling. The content does not represent real individuals, actual events, book documented cases. Any resemblance to real people, animals, book or events is purely coincidental. The corridors of the Tudor palaces were long and winding, much like the complex web of relationships that defined Elizabeth's childhood. Within these walls, affection was often tempered by the demands of the crown. Family gatherings were rarely simple occasions. They were stages upon which the fate of a dynasty was constantly negotiated. Elizabeth, growing taller and more perceptive with each passing season, navigated these waters with a natural, quiet instinct for survival. She observed her father, King Henry, with a mix of awe and distant respect. To him she was a figure of political significance, a pawn in a larger game of alliances and succession. To her he was a giant whose moods could darken the skies of the entire kingdom. In the presence of such overwhelming power, Elizabeth learned the value of emotional restraint. She discovered that by holding her feelings close, by maintaining a calm, unreadable expression, she could create a protective space around her own heart. There was a profound loneliness in this, yet she found solace in the fleeting, honest moments of connection she shared with her governesses and the few companions allowed within her circle. They whispered stories to her in the dim light of late afternoons, tales of far-off lands and legendary queens, filling the silence of her chambers with possibilities. These small, tender moments were the anchors of her youth, reminders that even amidst the cold stone of palaces and the weight of royal lineage, there was still room for human warmth. She learned to walk delicately, understanding that in a world where alliances shifted like sand, stability was found in one's own inner world. Her thoughts became her own private kingdom, a place where she could retreat whenever the pressures of court life became too heavy. It was a skill that would serve her for a lifetime, this ability to stand in the centre of a storm and remain completely, utterly still. As you settle deeper into your rest, consider the quiet strength in Elizabeth's early resolve. She reminds us that even when the world around us feels unpredictable, we carry a centre of peace within ourselves, ready to be nurtured. If this peaceful history helps you unwind and drift into a deeper state of relaxation, please show your support by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and tapping the bell icon to join us for our next journey through time. Your presence here, in these quiet halls of history, is truly appreciated. While the stone walls of the palaces offered security, it was the sprawling gardens that offered Elizabeth freedom. When the weight of study or the pressure of courtly expectations became too heavy, she would slip away into the verdant embrace of the grounds. The transition was always marked by the change in air, from the dry, cedar-scented atmosphere of the chambers to the crisp, living breath of the English countryside. Imagine walking alongside her, The grass underfoot is soft and damp with the morning dew, releasing a sweet, earthy fragrance as you tread upon it. The gardens were designed with precision, yet they possessed a wild, untamed beauty. Tunnels of manicured yew hedges created cool, shaded corridors where the sunlight danced in dappled patterns on the ground. Here, the only sounds were the distant song of a lark and the gentle rustle of leaves in a soft breeze. Elizabeth found a unique comfort in the rhythm of the changing seasons. She watched the gardens transform from the vibrant, blooming life of spring, where blossoms covered the trees like drifts of snow, to the deep, resonant gold of autumn. In the quiet solitude of these spaces, she did not have to be a princess, a scholar, or a political figure. She was simply an observer of nature's quiet majesty. She would sit upon a carved stone bench, watching the butterflies drift between the lavender bushes, their wings tracing slow, aimless patterns in the air. These moments of communion with the natural world taught her more than any textbook could. She learned that growth requires patience, that a rose does not rush to bloom, and the oak does not hurry to reach the sky. In the stillness of the afternoon, with the warm sun resting on her skin, she felt a sense of connection to the world that transcended rank or title. It was a grounding experience, one that allowed her spirit to expand and breathe. She often took these long wandering walks with only her most trusted companions, keeping their conversations low so as not to disturb the profound silence of the garden. They would talk of the changing colours of the sky or the way the light hit the ripples in the ornamental pond. It was in these simple, unadorned moments that Elizabeth felt most like herself. As you listen, let yourself drift into that same garden. Picture the pathways stretching out before you, the air clear and refreshing, the horizon wide and inviting. Let the natural world wrap around you, soothing your senses and guiding your mind into a state of quiet, peaceful contemplation. Within the inner sanctums of the palace, there existed a world of textures, colours and intricate details that was as carefully curated as any piece of literature. For a young princess like Elizabeth, clothing was far more than mere decoration. It was a silent language, a form of armour worn to navigate the complexities of court life. Imagine the sensation of the finest velvet, heavy and soft to the touch, and the cool, smooth surface of silk that rustled with every movement. The preparations for the day were a slow, meditative process. Assistants moved with quiet efficiency, laying out garments that were masterpieces of craftsmanship. Elaborate embroidery traced delicate patterns of vines and flowers across bodices, using golden thread that caught the light of the morning. There was a deliberate weight to these clothes, the structure of the bodice, the layering of petticoats, the stiffened, intricate collars that framed the face. They imposed a certain posture, encouraging a stillness and grace that defined the wearer. As Elizabeth dressed, she was reminded that she was always on display. Each choice of colour, the deep, regal crimsons, the soft, pale creams, or the rich, midnight blues, carried its own subtle weight. She learned to appreciate the sensory detail of her world, the way a pendant of polished gemstone felt against her skin, the gentle sway of sleeves lined with fur, and the scent of rosewater that clung to the fabrics. This focus on physical detail was a way of centering herself, of grounding her awareness in the tangible reality of the present moment. In a court where words could be misconstrued and alliances were fragile, the elegance of one's appearance provided a necessary consistency. It was a projection of composure that signalled to the world that she was prepared, that she was in control, and that she was composed. When she looked in the polished silver mirror, she saw a reflection of the dignity she was striving to cultivate within. There is something deeply relaxing about the idea of this quiet, rhythmic ritual of dressing, the slow layering of fabrics, the careful smoothing of lace, the serene attention to detail. It is a process that asks for patience and presence. As you settle deeper into your own comfort, imagine the softness of those fabrics, the quiet luxury of the palace chambers, and the steady, unhurried pace of the morning routine. Let these images fill your mind, replacing the clutter of the day with the elegance of a simpler, more structured time. The stillness of the room, the scent of lavender and silk, and the steady, gentle passage of time all invite you to release your focus and drift into a state of profound, peaceful rest. As the sun dipped below the horizon, bathing the Tudor palaces in a soft twilight glow, the atmosphere within the walls would shift once more. The bustle of the day faded, replaced by the hushed, intimate sounds of the evening. It was during these quiet hours that music became Elizabeth's most cherished companion. The palace, with its high vaulted ceilings and stone floors, possessed a natural haunting resonance, turning every note of a lute or the gentle human voice into a soothing lullaby. Imagine sitting in a dimly lit chamber, the hearth fire glowing with a steady amber light. A lutenist sits in the corner, their fingers dancing over the strings with a gentle, repetitive grace. The music is not loud or intrusive, it is a slow, melodic weave of sound that seems to mimic the rhythm of breathing. Elizabeth would listen, her eyes closed, letting the vibrations of the music settle the restlessness of her mind. Each note was a small, perfect moment of order in a world that often felt chaotic. Music provided a bridge between the reality of her duties and the vast landscape of her imagination. Through these melodies she travelled to lands of myth and legend, feeling the weight of the crown slip away, leaving only the simple human need for rest. She learned to appreciate the silence that followed the music, a deep, thick silence that felt like a warm blanket. In that space there were no political manoeuvres, no court intrigues, and no royal expectations. There was only the present and the comforting promise of the night. Often she would play the virginal herself, her hands moving with a practiced steady rhythm. The process of learning a piece, the repetition, the correction, the gradual mastery of the melody, was a form of meditation. It required her to slow down, to focus entirely on the delicate balance of the music, and to find harmony within herself. It is this same sense of harmony that we invite into your space tonight. Let the memory of that lute music, the soft resonance of the strings, and the gentle stillness of the Tudor night wash over you, clearing away the lingering thoughts of your day. If you find that this rhythmic storytelling and the calming atmosphere of our journey are helping you drift closer to sleep, we invite you to be part of our community. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell to ensure you never miss a moment of our tranquil historical series. Your support allows us to continue crafting these gentle restorative escapes for you and many others. When night finally claimed the palace, a profound transformation took place. The corridors that were filled with the rustle of courtiers and the heavy weight of politics during the day now fell into a deep, velvety slumber. Candles were extinguished one by one, leaving behind only the softest glow from the dying embers in the great stone fireplaces. For Elizabeth, these hours of darkness were a rare gift, a time when the demands of the world ceased to reach her. She would retreat to her private chambers, rooms draped in heavy velvet tapestries that muffled the sounds of the outside world. Here the air was cool and still, scented with the remnants of dried herbs and the faint comforting aroma of beeswax. She would sit by the window watching the moon cast silver patterns across the garden below. The world she was expected to rule one day felt impossibly far away, replaced by the simple quiet reality of the night. In these moments of solitude, Elizabeth found a different kind of strength. It was not the strength of authority or influence, but the strength of self-possession. She could let her guard down, allowing the mask of composure to slip. She would reflect on the day's lessons, the faces she had seen, and the words she had spoken, observing them with a gentle, detached clarity. There was no need to judge or to perform. There was only the need to be present with her own thoughts. Sometimes she would watch the shadows shift on the walls, their shapes constantly changing in the flickering firelight. It was a rhythmic, hypnotic dance that seemed to mirror the ebb and flow of her own breathing. As you lie in the comfort of your own space, try to emulate that feeling of quiet detachment. Let the worries of your own life, the tasks that weigh on your mind, and the expectations you carry drift away like shadows in the night. The palace is silent now. The guards at the gate are motionless, the great halls are empty, and the world is holding its breath. There is a deep, abiding peace in this emptiness, a sense that nothing more is required of you until the sun rises again. Allow yourself to sink into this stillness, feeling the weight of your body relax into the bed, the tension in your limbs dissolving into the soft, dark quiet. You are safe here, anchored in the history of a time long past, enveloped by the tranquility of a night that stretches out calm and infinite before you. As the hours of the night deepened, the silence within the palace walls seemed to grow, becoming a tangible, comforting presence. It was in these quiet depths that the contrast between Elizabeth's private identity and her public role became most apparent. During the day, she was the focus of watchful eyes. Diplomats, courtiers, and advisers all sought to measure her, to predict the future queen within the girl. They looked for signs of her father's fire or her mother's grace, searching for the temperament of a future leader. But in the stillness of the night, the weight of those expectations faded. She was no longer a symbol, she was simply a human being, dreaming of paths not yet taken. She would trace the patterns on her linen sheets, her mind wandering to the stories she had read in the library, tales of figures who held their own against the tide of history. She realized in the quietest corners of her soul that her strength would not come from mirroring those who came before her, but from the unique inner resilience she had been building in silence all her life. This anticipation of the future was not a source of anxiety, but rather a quiet, steady resolve. She understood that life, like the slow, rhythmic turning of the seasons, followed its own necessary course. She did not need to rush to be queen. She only needed to be present for each day, learning, growing, and observing. This wisdom, the ability to find peace in the unfolding of time, was perhaps her greatest asset. It allowed her to remain calm, even when the world around her seemed to be in constant flux. As you drift further into your own rest, think of that quiet confidence. It is a lesson in patience that we can all carry with us. Whatever challenges or changes wait for you in the coming days, you too can find your own inner sanctuary, a place of stillness and clarity that remains untouched by the noise of the outside world. Just as Elizabeth found strength in the quiet, you can find replenishment in the simple restorative act of letting go. If this series has helped you find a sense of peace in your evening routine, please consider supporting the channel. Your feedback is what keeps this storytelling journey alive. Please like this video, subscribe, and tap the bell icon so we can continue to share these gentle historical accounts with you. Thank you for choosing to spend these quiet moments with us, grounding your thoughts in the soft, restorative rhythm of the past. The library remained the true heart of Elizabeth's early life, a sanctuary where the frantic pace of the Tudor court could not penetrate. Here, surrounded by the scent of aged leather and the cool, earthy smell of old vellum, the centuries seemed to collapse into a single, peaceful moment. She spent countless hours with the works of the ancients, tracing the thoughts of philosophers who lived and died long before the Tudor name had ever been spoken in England. There is a profound comfort in reading, in allowing another's voice to guide you through time. As Elizabeth read, she was not alone. She was in conversation with the great minds of history. She learned that while empires may rise and fall, and while the fashions and customs of the court may change with every generation, the core of human experience remains constant. The desire for peace, the pursuit of understanding, and the need for a quiet space to reflect are universal. She practiced her translations with meticulous care, the slow rhythmic labour of turning one language into another, acting as a lullaby for her mind. The scratch of her pen was the only sound in the room, a steady pulse that measured the passing of the evening. Through this discipline she learned the value of detail, the importance of a single word, the nuance of a phrase, the precision of an idea. It taught her to value the process over the outcome, and to find contentment in the quiet, steady pursuit of knowledge. As you lie here listening to these words, consider the long, unbroken line of humanity that stretches back through time. We are all part of this vast, interconnected history. The worries that feel so heavy today are but brief shadows in the long afternoon of human existence. Allow the wisdom of the past to settle over you, a gentle weight that grounds you, reminding you that it is enough to simply be, to breathe and to rest. Let the silence of the library become your own silence, a quiet vault where your mind can finally stop its racing and begin to slow, drifting into the deep, dark sea of sleep. This content is inspired by and adapted from public domain works available through Project Gutenberg. The material has been transformed through original narration, editing, and storytelling to create a unique experience for educational and entertainment purposes. The world of the Tudor Palace, when touched by the first light of dawn, is a place of profound stillness. Before the bustle of the day begins, before the heavy doors are unbarred and the servants begin their routines, there is a lingering, precious moment of silence. Elizabeth would often be awake during these early hours, standing by the window of her chamber as the morning mist curled around the palace spires like a soft grey veil. The gardens were not yet sharp in detail. They were softened by the damp, cool air, the colours muted into shades of slate and deep, mossy green. Everything felt suspended in time, as if the entire world were holding its breath, waiting for the sun to break through the veil of morning. This was the hour of true peace. There was no politics here, no weight of inheritance, no complex courtly games. There was only the gentle, rhythmic drip of dew from the leaves and the distant, lonely call of a bird hidden within the trees. For a young princess, these moments were essential. She could watch the world wake up knowing that for a brief window of time she was entirely free from the gaze of the court. The cool air against her skin was a reminder of the living world outside, a stark, refreshing contrast to the stifling, perfume-heavy atmosphere of the indoor chambers. She would breathe in deeply, the clean, damp scent of the earth providing a clarity of mind that carried her through the challenges of the day to come. As you listen, try to place yourself there, at that window looking out over the quiet, mist-covered park. Feel the coolness of the air, the absolute stillness of the morning, and the sense of waiting that permeates the air. There is no need to hurry, there is no need to speak or to move. The day has not yet begun, and all the duties that might demand your attention later are currently non-existent. You are wrapped in the soft grey quiet of the dawn, a spectator to the waking world. Let this feeling of suspension, this gentle rhythmic pause in the timeline of the day, settle deep into your bones. Allow your muscles to soften, your heart rate to slow, and your thoughts to dissolve into the mist. You are drifting just like the fog, between the world of waking and the world of dreams. The palace is hushed, the world is still, and you are perfectly peacefully safe. While the upper chambers of the palace remained wrapped in the hushed silver light of dawn, the lower levels began to stir with a quiet, purposeful rhythm. The kitchens deep within the belly of the stone structure were the first to wake. Elizabeth, from her distant rooms, could sometimes hear the faint melodic clatter of metal pans and the soft rhythmic thud of a wooden spoon against a ceramic bowl. It was a sound that grounded the entire household, a reminder that the world continued to turn, sustained by simple, necessary acts of care. There is something deeply soothing about the distant preparations for a new day. The scent of wood smoke, freshly baked bread, and dried herbs began to drift through the draughty corridors, a comforting, warm current that defied the morning chill. For the young princess, these were the sounds of stability. They suggested that no matter what political storms might brew in the council chambers or what rumours might circulate among the courtiers, the basic sustaining life of the palace remained constant and secure. She would watch the servants move through the courtyards below. their silhouettes dark against the pale stones. They performed their tasks with an economy of motion, a practiced ease born from years of repetition. There was no rush here, no sign of the frantic energy that defined the court at midday. It was a slow, steady unfolding of duties, the drawing of water, the stoking of the fires, the quiet folding of linen. It was a life lived in service to the rhythm of the sun and the needs of the household. This awareness of the hidden, industrious life of the palace offered Elizabeth a sense of perspective. She saw how many people worked in harmony to create the world she lived in, each contribution a small, essential note in a larger symphony. It taught her to value the unseen work of others, to recognize that the grandeur of the throne rested upon the quiet, steady efforts of those who lived their lives in the shadows. As you lie in the comfort of your bed, let these sounds and images become a soft, rhythmic backdrop to your own journey towards sleep. Imagine the warmth of the hearth, the smell of the morning meal, and the feeling of being part of a larger, well-ordered world. There is a safety in this rhythm, a predictability that allows you to let go of any need to control or plan. You are held by this quiet, ancient routine. Simply listen to the fading echoes of the morning preparations, feeling your breath become as slow and steady as the pace of a palace awakening. The day is beginning for the world, but for you, the time has come to drift into the deepest, most restorative stillness. In the quiet mid-morning, when the court was occupied with its own complex affairs, the long, winding corridors of the palace became Elizabeth's own private domain. These were not merely pathways from one room to another. They were long, stone-floored passages lined with portraits of ancestors, whose eyes seemed to follow her with a silent, watchful wisdom. The light here was soft, filtering through high, narrow windows, casting long rectangles of brightness across the polished wood and cold grey stone. There is a meditative quality to walking such a long, silent space. Elizabeth would pace slowly, her feet making only the softest sound against the floor. Each step was a quiet heartbeat, a measurement of time passing in a way that felt both eternal and fleeting. She found that in these empty halls she could think most clearly. The vastness of the space seemed to expand her own perspective, pushing away the narrow anxieties of daily politics and replacing them with a sense of calm, expansive possibility. She often ran her hand along the cool surface of the walls, feeling the texture of the stone and the occasional touch of heavy velvet tapestries. These walls were the silent witnesses to centuries of history, to the whispers of monarchs, the laughter of children, and the quiet, heavy footsteps of those who walked these paths before her. Being surrounded by such enduring presence was for her a grounding force. It reminded her that she was a link in a chain that stretched far beyond the current moment, a part of a legacy that was built on endurance and steady, quiet growth. Sometimes she would stop before a tall, arched window looking out over the inner courtyard below. The world moved on in its own way, but up here, in the long galleries, everything was still. The air was cool and smelled of beeswax and old wood, a scent that always signalled safety and tranquillity. She realized that she did not need to be in the center of the crowd to have power. She could hold her own space, even in the silence of an empty corridor. As you listen, imagine yourself walking alongside her, moving through these grand, quiet spaces. There is no destination, no rush to be anywhere else. The long, rhythmic stretch of the gallery invites you to slow your own pace, to match your breathing to the quiet cadence of her footsteps. Let the world outside fade into a distant memory, replaced by the calm, unchanging beauty of these ancient halls. Every step is an invitation to let go of tension, to release the effort of the day, and to sink deeper into the feeling of being supported by the history that surrounds you. The gallery stretches out before you, cool, quiet, and infinitely peaceful, leading you toward the heart of your own deep, restorative rest. Scattered throughout Elizabeth's private quarters were small, intimate treasures, objects that held more meaning than any grand crown or royal decree. There was a small, intricately carved wooden box, its surface worn smooth by years of touch, where she kept simple trinkets: a dried flower pressed between the pages of a favourite book, a ribbon given in a moment of kindness, a small silver thimble. These were the anchors of her personal world, the silent keepers of memories that had nothing to do with politics or the cold demands of the court. She would often pick up these items during the quiet hours of the afternoon, turning them over in her hands. The cool weight of the silver, the soft brittle texture of the dried petal, each sensation served as a touchstone, bringing her back to herself. It was a practice of gratitude, a way of acknowledging the quiet, beautiful fragments that made up a life. In a world of immense, overwhelming power, there was a profound, quiet strength in these small things. They were proof that beauty could exist in the most delicate of forms, and that even a princess could find comfort in the simplest of relics. She cherished a small leather-bound notebook, where she would sometimes practice her handwriting, the ink flowing in graceful looping arcs across the page. The act of writing was, for her, an act of creation. It allowed her to externalize her thoughts, to watch them take form in the steady, rhythmic movement of the quill. She found peace in the way the words filled the silence, turning empty space into something meaningful and lasting. These objects were her secret companions, her silent witnesses. They demanded nothing of her, and in return they offered a sense of continuity. They were the constants in a life that was often defined by upheaval. As you settle deeper into your rest, try to imagine your own treasures, the small, quiet things that bring you comfort and a sense of belonging. Let your mind linger on the sensory details, the smooth surface of a favourite stone, the weight of a soft blanket, the gentle sound of a turning page. Everything in this chamber is quiet. Everything is held in a state of suspended grace. Allow yourself to feel the same sense of peace that Elizabeth found in her small, cherished belongings. The world outside is far away, the day is behind you, and there is nothing more to do but simply be. Let the stillness of the room, the scent of lavender from the garden, and the memory of those small, perfect objects anchor you in this moment. You are safe, you are comfortable, and you are drifting, ever so slowly, into the deep, quiet waters of sleep. Within the quiet, wood-panelled walls of her study, Elizabeth often found a peculiar kind of peace in the mastery of foreign tongues. To learn a new language was, for her, to step into a different way of thinking. She would spend hours with a grammar book, the pages thin and crisp, tracing the lines of Latin and Greek with her fingertips. The process was slow, deliberate, and entirely absorbing. There was no room for anxiety here. One could only focus on the structure of a sentence, the delicate balance of a verb conjugation, and the rhythm of a well-crafted phrase. She discovered that words had their own weight and texture. Some were sharp and clear, like the strike of a bell. Others were soft and flowing, like water over river stones. As she spoke them aloud, the sounds filled the chamber, creating a cocoon of meaning that shielded her from the intrusions of the palace. It was a meditative practice, a steadying of the mind through the repetitive, calming art of recitation. She learned that to truly understand something, a person, a policy, or a text, one must first learn its language, its cadence, and its unique way of expressing truth. In the quiet afternoon, when the light turned a dusty golden hue, she would often practice her pronunciation. The soft, rhythmic murmurs were like a gentle humming, a vibration that resonated in her chest and brought a sense of physical ease. This intellectual labour was not draining. On the contrary, it was revitalizing. It sharpened her focus while simultaneously quieting the internal noise of doubt and worry. She understood that a calm mind was the most powerful tool a ruler could possess, and she cultivated that calmness with the same dedication she gave to her studies. As you listen, allow your mind to mirror this focus. You do not need to analyze or solve anything tonight. Just as she found comfort in the predictable structure of a sentence, you can find comfort in the steady rhythm of these words. Let them wash over you, their meanings softening as they drift into the background. The The complexity of your day, the demands of your own languages and responsibilities can be set aside. Here, in this space of learning and quiet, there is only the gentle passage of sound. Feel the tension in your forehead release, the muscles in your jaw loosen, and the space between your thoughts expand. You are in a classroom of the mind, a place of safety and profound silence. The ancient words, the quiet practice, and the steady, unhurried pace of the afternoon all invite you to let go. You are drifting into a state where you are not required to produce anything, not required to perform, and not required to be anything other than exactly who you are. The words are simply a path, a soft winding trail leading you further and further into the landscape of deep, peaceful rest. The presence of a mentor within the quietude of the palace was a steadying anchor for young Elizabeth. Her tutors were not merely teachers, they were the architects of her intellect, men who understood that the cultivation of a mind was a delicate, lifelong process. Imagine the scene in the study as the afternoon light begins to wane, casting soft amber shadows across the heavy oak table. Her tutor, a man of quiet demeanour and deep, thoughtful eyes, speaks in a voice that is low, measured, and devoid of unnecessary urgency. There is a profound respect in the air between them. It is a quiet dialogue of minds, where each question is met with patience and every answer is pondered with care. Elizabeth listens intently, her posture relaxed yet attentive, soaking in the wisdom of the past as one might soak in the warmth of a hearth. She learns that true intelligence is not about being the loudest voice in the room, but about being the most composed. She learns that to listen is to gather power, and to respond with thoughtfulness is to command respect. The lessons are never rushed. If a passage is difficult, they pause. They sit in the silence together, allowing the meaning of the words to settle into the air like dust motes in a sunbeam. This shared silence is never awkward. It is filled with a sense of purpose and calm. It is a space where Elizabeth feels safe to explore ideas, to challenge her own understanding, and to grow without the fear of judgment. She realizes that she is being prepared for something much greater than just the court. She is being prepared to be herself. As you listen, imagine being a silent witness to these quiet sessions. Feel the atmosphere of the room, the scent of parchment and dry ink, the solid presence of the heavy stone walls, and the gentle, respectful rhythm of the conversation. Let this sense of order and guidance become your own. Just as she was nurtured by these quiet hours of learning, you can allow yourself to be nurtured by the stillness of the present moment. Let the weight of the day's responsibilities slip from your mind, replaced by this scene of focused, calm dedication. You are safe here, in a space of wisdom and tranquility. The tutor's voice, the steady turning of pages, and the slow, deep rhythm of the room, all these elements are here to support you. You do not need to solve the puzzles of your own day, you only need to rest. As the shadows grow longer, and the room fills with the soft blue light of evening, feel yourself drifting deeper into the comfort of this quiet, scholarly sanctuary where nothing is expected of you and everything is perfectly, peacefully still. As the day breathes its final soft sighs, the atmosphere within the study undergoes a gentle, luminous change. The golden light of the afternoon fades, replaced by a deep, indigo blue that creeps through the tall, leaded windows. In this quiet transition, the room feels as though it is holding its breath. The sharp edges of the furniture, the stacks of books, and the intricate patterns of the tapestries soften, blending into the deepening shadows. It is a time of suspension, a bridge between the activity of the day and the sanctuary of the night. Elizabeth sits still, watching the subtle movement of the light. She waits for the moment when the shadows become too long and the first flicker of candlelight is required. When it finally comes, the scratch of a flint, the sharp, bright spark, and then the steady yellow glow of the beeswax candle, the room is transformed. The light pools around the table, creating a small, warm island of clarity in the midst of the cooling darkness. It is an intimate, private glow that seems to invite reflection and rest. The scent of the candle, a faint, clean fragrance of beeswax and a hint of honey, begins to fill the air. It is a grounding smell, one that speaks of comfort and the simple, reliable patterns of life. The flickering flame dances, casting soft, rhythmic shapes against the walls, dull pulses of light that mimic the steady, slow rhythm of a resting heart. Everything in the room seems to settle, to deepen its roots into the quiet earth of the evening. In this flickering light, the world outside becomes a distant, irrelevant thought. The worries of court, the complexities of royal lineage, and the distant hum of the kingdom are all silenced by the warm, protective embrace of the study. Here there is only the light, the silence, and the promise of a long, undisturbed night. Elizabeth allows her shoulders to drop, her breath to lengthen, and her mind to unspool. As you lie in the quiet of your own room, imagine the soft yellow light of that candle glowing beside you. Let its warmth seep into your senses, creating a circle of peace where no noise can enter. The darkness outside is vast and cool, but here there is warmth and light. Feel the slow, hypnotic movement of the shadows on your walls, and let them guide your consciousness into the depths of relaxation. You are becoming as still as the books on the shelves, as calm as the air in the room, and as ready for rest as the princess in her chamber. The day is fully gone, and the long restorative silence of the night has finally arrived. A gentle, steady rhythm begins to descend upon the palace, a soft tapping against the thick leaded glass of the windows, and the distant rhythmic hum of rain falling upon the heavy stone of the battlements. To Elizabeth, sitting within the sanctuary of her private chambers, this sound is the most soothing lullaby. It is the music of the clouds, a natural repetitive cadence that seems to weave itself into the very fabric of the evening. The world outside is obscured by the grey, shimmering curtain of the shower, turning the gardens and the courtyards into a blurred, peaceful dreamscape. The sound is not harsh, it is a muffled, rhythmic patter, a constant low-frequency whisper that seems to dampen all other noises. In the palace, the air feels heavier, warmer and more cocooning. The fire in the hearth crackles softly, competing with the distant song of the rain, creating a perfect harmony of comfort. Elizabeth rests her head against the cool wood of her chair, letting the sound wash over her. It is as if the sky itself is hushing the world, telling it to slow down, to breathe, and to let go of the day's lingering burdens. There is a profound sense of safety in being indoors while the rain falls outside. The stone walls are solid, the roof is secure, and the warmth of the interior is a defiant, cosy response to the cool dampness of the storm. She feels protected, cradled by the architecture of the palace, and the simple, persistent rhythm of the water. Each drop is a heartbeat, a small, steady unit of time that reminds her that she is part of something larger, something that moves at its own, unhurried pace. As you listen, imagine that same rain falling near you. It is a gentle, persistent rain, the kind that promises a deep, restful night. The sound starts on the roof, faint and rhythmic, then gradually spreads, wrapping the entire house in a soft, musical blanket. Let your thoughts become as light and fluid as the raindrops. Do not try to capture them or understand them, simply let them fall away, one by one, merging into the steady, hypnotic murmur of the storm. Your breathing is becoming synchronized with the rhythm of the rain, softly in, slowly out. With each breath, you feel yourself sinking deeper into the soft, comforting weight of your blankets. The world is damp, cool and quiet, while you're warm, dry, and entirely at peace. There is nowhere else to be, nothing else to do. Let the sound of the rain be the final gentle tether that holds you in this moment, slowly easing you into the threshold of a deep, dreamless sleep. As the night deepens, the long gallery becomes a space of profound, quiet reflection. Here the portraits of Tudor kings and queens hang in a stately, unbroken row, their painted eyes gazing out into the dim hallway with a stillness that has lasted for generations. Elizabeth, walking these halls with a single taper in her hand, would often pause before these faces. They were her lineage, her ancestors, the figures who had built the very walls that now sheltered her. In the flickering candlelight, Their features seemed to shift, catching the light in a way that made them appear almost alive, witnesses to her own quiet youth. There is a unique stillness that resides in a hall of portraits. It is a space where time seems to fold in on itself, where the past and the present exist in a single quiet resonance. Elizabeth felt no fear in their presence. Instead, she felt a sense of belonging. She was not alone in her burdens, nor was she the first to carry the weight of expectations. They had walked these halls, navigated these politics, and stood exactly where she now stood. Their stories were etched into the very stone of the palace, providing a foundation for her own unfolding journey. She would trace the fine detail of the brushwork with her eyes, the rich velvets, the glittering jewels, the stoic expressions, all captured by artists long gone. It was a testament to the desire of humans to be remembered, to leave a mark upon the world. But in this quiet hour, the pride of their reign was softened by the gentle fading light. They were no longer icons of power, but simply human beings resting in the eternal peace of the gallery. Their quietness was infectious, a cool, steady influence that helped to calm her own racing thoughts. As you walk this gallery in your imagination, notice how the air feels cool and still, preserved by the heavy walls. The portraits are just shapes in the soft darkness, silent guardians of the palace. There is nothing to fear here. There is only the profound, dignified quiet of history. Let this sense of permanence wash over you. The worries that feel so large in the daylight shrink to their true small size when placed against the long, slow progression of the centuries. You are safe, held in the cradle of time. As you drift further into your rest, feel the quietude of the gallery settling into your own room. The ancestors are watching, the hallway is peaceful, and the silence is absolute. You are becoming part of this long, unbroken tradition of rest, a simple, natural end to the day. Let your eyes close, let your breathing become as rhythmic as the steady pulse of the palace, and allow yourself to sink into the deep, dark, and wonderfully still waters of sleep. In the grand halls and quiet anterooms of the palace, there existed a subtle, omnipresent companion, the steady, rhythmic heartbeat of the great clocks. These mechanical marvels, with their heavy brass pendulums swinging in perfect measured arcs, filled the air with a soft, comforting pulse. It was a sound that defined the quiet of the Tudor world, a reminder that time, even in the stillness of the night, was moving forward in a gentle, orderly fashion. For Elizabeth, these clocks were more than just keepers of the hour, they were the metronomes of her life. Imagine sitting in the drawing room as the evening deepens. The fireplace has burnt down to a warm, glowing bed of embers, and the house has settled into its nightly routine. The silence is not absolute, for it is punctuated by that soft, consistent tick-tock. It is a sound that requires no effort to listen to, yet it draws the mind into a state of focus. With every swing of the pendulum, there is a sense of predictability, a sense of safety. The world outside may be unpredictable, but here, inside, time is captured, measured, and held in a slow, steady cadence. Elizabeth would sometimes close her eyes and simply listen to this mechanical lullaby. The cadence of the pendulum, left, right, seemed to mirror the rhythm of her own breathing. It was a hypnotic, grounding sensation that invited her to detach from the frantic pace of the court. Why rush? The clocks seemed to ask, when time is a constant flowing river, why worry about the future, when the present is measured in such beautiful, delicate segments? In this space there was only the heartbeat of the palace and the peaceful awareness of being exactly where she needed to be. As you lie in your bed, I invite you to listen for this rhythm. It may be the quiet hum of your own room, the sound of your own slow, deep breaths, or the imagined steady tick-tock of a clock in the distance. Let that sound become the anchor for your relaxation. With each tick, feel a small release of tension in your body. With each tock, feel yourself sinking a little deeper into the comfort of your mattress. You do not need to keep track of the time. You do not need to watch the minutes pass. The clocks are doing that for you, managing the flow of the night so that you can surrender completely to rest. The rhythm is slow, it is steady, and it is entirely soothing. Let it cradle you, let it lull you, and let it carry you forward into the depths of a dreamless, restorative sleep. The pendulum swings, the night unfolds, and you are perfectly, peacefully at ease. When the air turns crisp and the moon hangs high over the Tudor gardens, a different kind of world awakens. It is a world of scent, where the heavy daytime perfume of blooming flowers softens into something more delicate and elusive. Elizabeth would often stand at her balcony door, leaving it slightly ajar, just enough to let the cool night air drift into her chamber. It was an invitation to the senses, a gentle reminder of the living, breathing landscape that lay beyond the stone walls. There is a particular magic to the garden at night. The cooling temperature brings out the subtle notes of jasmine, the faint, sweet trace of night-blooming stock, and the clean, grounding aroma of damp earth and crushed herbs. It is a fragrance that speaks of rest and renewal. For a princess burdened by the complexities of her station, these scents were a bridge to the simple, elemental truths of nature. They reminded her that no matter how complicated the world of men might become, the earth itself continued its quiet, seasonal work, blossoming in the darkness, indifferent to the crowns of kings. She would breathe in deeply, the cool night air clearing her lungs and cooling the heat of the day's exertion. In that inhalation there was a sense of profound cleansing. It felt as though she were inhaling the very silence of the garden, allowing it to displace the noise and clutter of her thoughts. Each breath was a quiet, internal ritual, a way of grounding herself in the present moment, surrounded by the invisible, aromatic beauty of the night. As you lie in your bed, imagine that same air drifting in to meet you. It is a clean, fresh, and slightly cool breeze, carrying the faint, sweet scent of a garden in the moonlight. It flows into your room, moving softly over your skin, inviting you to breathe in the tranquility of the night. With each slow, deep inhalation, feel the stillness of the garden entering your own space. Let the scent of the night soothe your mind, clearing away the lingering dust of the day's activities. There is nothing to do but to continue this gentle rhythm of breathing in and out, deep, slow, and easy. The world outside is dark, cool, and peaceful, a vast garden of rest that stretches out in every direction. You are safely anchored here, surrounded by the quiet, aromatic stillness of the night. Feel your body becoming heavier, more relaxed, and more perfectly at ease with every breath. The scent of the earth, the softness of the air, and the absolute silence of the hour are all here to guide you toward the deep, restorative sleep you deserve. Within the inner sanctum of her private chambers, the walls were adorned with vast, heavy tapestries, centuries of craftsmanship woven into scenes of pastoral beauty and ancient legends. In the soft, dim light of the evening, these tapestries seemed to lose their static nature, becoming instead a series of quiet, frozen stories. Elizabeth would often find herself tracing the faded threads with her eyes, lost in the intricate details of a forest scene or the elegant posture of a figure caught in a moment of eternal stillness. The colours were muted by time, soft ochres, faded blues, and deep mossy greens that had long since surrendered their original vibrancy to the gentle touch of the years. There is a profound sense of comfort in these woven landscapes. They depict a world that is calm, ordered, and unchanging. The hunters are always standing at the edge of the woodland. The birds are forever poised in flight, and the flowers remain in perpetual bloom, unburdened by the passage of the seasons or the decay of time. It is a world of permanent, quiet grace. For Elizabeth, these tapestries were a meditative focus. When her mind was cluttered with the echoes of courtly debate or the pressure of her future, she would retreat to the visual rhythm of the thread. She observed the patience required to create such works, the thousands of tiny, careful stitches, the precision of the loom, the devotion to a single long-term vision. It was a lesson in the beauty of the incremental. Just as the tapestry was built one stitch at a time, so too was a life built, day by quiet day, in the slow, persistent accumulation of moments. As you lie here, allow your eyes to gently wander through the dark, resting your gaze on the shapes of your own room. Imagine them taking on the peaceful, woven quality of those ancient tapestries. Everything is soft, everything is still, and everything is fixed in a state of tranquil repose. You are not required to do anything. You are simply part of the scene, held in the comfortable, protective embrace of the evening. Let your imagination mirror the slow, rhythmic movement of a weaver's needle in and out, a steady, soothing repetition that invites your mind to drift. Feel the weight of your eyelids growing heavy, mirroring the stillness of the figures in the woven forest. You are sinking deeper into the quiet beneath the surface of the day, into the soft velvet dark of sleep. There is no urgency here, only the steady, unfolding peace of a night that is yours alone. Everything is settled, everything is quiet, everything is ready for your rest. High above the palace, beyond the stone battlements and the swaying tops of the ancient trees, the night sky stretches out in a vast, silent canopy. Elizabeth would often step to her window and look upward, finding a strange, comforting solace in the sheer scale of the heavens. In the daylight, the world feels crowded with demands, voices, and the heavy pressing of royal duty. But at night, beneath the infinite reach of the stars, everything feels different. Everything feels small, manageable, and deeply peaceful. There is a profound humility in looking up at the night sky. The stars have burned with a steady, quiet light for thousands of years, indifferent to the shifting tides of politics or the rise and fall of kingdoms. They remind us that our own worries, however pressing they may feel, are but tiny specks in the grand, unfolding history of the universe. This perspective is a gift, a gentle way of releasing the grip of our own thoughts. As she stood there, watching the soft, rhythmic shimmer of distant constellations, Elizabeth felt her internal world align with the stillness of the cosmos. The sky is a deep, velvety indigo, a colour that invites the mind to expand and then slowly to let go. There is no sharp light, only the soft, cooling glow of the moon reflecting off the stone walls and the silver-tipped leaves of the garden below. It is a world of shadows and whispers, where the air itself seems to be composed of rest. Every breath she takes feels lighter, as if she is inhaling the vast, calm space between the stars. As you lie in the comfort of your bed, imagine that same infinite sky stretching out above you. It is a protective, embracing darkness that covers the entire world. Let your thoughts rise up past the ceiling of your room and float out into that quiet, starlit expanse. Feel the gentle, cooling breeze of the night and the silent, rhythmic pulse of the universe. You are a part of this vast order, a small, essential piece of a much larger, peaceful whole. There is no need to carry the weight of your day any longer. Let the stars hold it for you. Let the infinite space of the night soften the edges of your mind. You are drifting, weightless and free, into the soft, velvet dark. Each breath brings you deeper into the silence, further into the calm, and closer to the threshold of a profound restorative sleep. The sky is vast, the stars are steady, and you are perfectly, peacefully safe. Before the candle flickered its final light, Elizabeth would reach for her small, leather-bound journal. This was the most important ritual of her day, a quiet communion with herself. As she dipped her quill into the inkwell, the room seemed to settle into an even deeper, more profound silence. The scratch of the nib against the parchment was the only sound, a steady, rhythmic rasp that acted like a gentle pulse. It was the sound of thoughts being translated from the internal to the external, a process of releasing whatever remained of the day's burdens onto the page. She wrote not for the court, not for history, and not for any audience. She wrote for the sake of the truth. As her hand moved across the paper, the swirling loops of her elegant handwriting seemed to carry away the anxieties that had lingered in the corners of her mind. If a worry was too heavy, she wrote it down, and in that act of recording, the worry lost its sting. She found that the simple act of naming her thoughts allowed her to release them. The page was a patient listener, a silent confidant that held her secrets and her dreams without judgment. Sometimes she wrote of small things, the way the light hit the window pane in the late afternoon, the smell of the rain on the stone, or the quiet grace of a single flower in the garden. These observations were the anchors that kept her grounded. They reminded her that no matter how complex the politics of the palace became, there was always a world of simple beauty waiting to be noticed. By the time she finished her final entry, her mind felt like a room that had been tidied and swept, quiet and ready for the stillness of the night. As you lie in your bed, imagine that you too have a place to set down your thoughts. Perhaps you can visualize your own journal, the pages smooth and waiting as you exhale. Imagine each of your lingering thoughts or concerns gently floating out of your mind and onto the paper. You do not need to solve them. You do not need to analyze them. You only need to acknowledge them and let them rest on the page, safe and recorded, so you no longer need to carry them with you. Feel the space in your mind becoming clear, light and airy. The weight of the day is being lifted, replaced by a soft, warm sense of completion. You have done enough. You have thought enough, and now you are free to simply be. The ink is dry, the book is closed, and the silence is your own. You are drifting into a state of total blissful rest, where the only thing that remains is the soft, rhythmic sound of your own quiet, steady breath. Everything is set down, everything is resolved, and you are ready to drift away. In a hidden drawer of her heavy oak desk, Elizabeth kept a small collection of objects that belonged to a time far removed from the cold expectations of the crown. These were the relics of her childhood, a small hand-carved wooden horse, its paint worn away by years of touch, a doll with a simple stitched smile, and a smooth rounded stone she had once plucked from a riverbank during a summer walk. Whenever the weight of the world felt too heavy, she would open that drawer and touch these simple things. They were more than toys, they were vessels of a time when the world was small, safe, and entirely within her understanding. The feel of the wood was warm and familiar, a texture that seemed to echo with the phantom laughter of younger days. In these moments, the palace walls seemed to soften. The grand, echoing corridors of the present receded, replaced by the warmth of a sun-drenched nursery and the smell of lavender-scented linen. It was a journey back to the beginning, a reminder that underneath the robes of state and the expectations of royalty, there was still a simple, quiet heart that cherished the small, ordinary joys of existence. There is a profound healing power in the objects of our past. They act as anchors, grounding us when the currents of life become too turbulent. For Elizabeth, these items were a testament to the fact that she had once been free, and that somewhere deep within her that freedom still lived. They offered no advice, they held no political secrets, and they demanded no perfection. They simply were, and in their existence they provided a sense of continuity that nothing else could match. As you lie in the quiet of your room, I invite you to travel back to your own moments of simplicity. Imagine the objects that brought you peace when you were young. Perhaps it was the soft fur of a favourite toy, the weight of a well-loved blanket, or the simple comfort of a storybook with familiar dog-eared pages. Let the memory of these things wash over you, bringing with them a feeling of total, unburdened safety. Feel the tension leaving your shoulders, your hands, and your heart as you reconnect with that version of yourself, the part of you that knows how to find joy in the smallest of things. You are not the person you are during the day, struggling with tasks and timelines. You are someone who is cherished, someone who is secure, and someone who is now finally ready for rest. The world is soft around you, like the fabric of an old, beloved doll. Your thoughts are quiet, like the stillness of a room where a child sleeps soundly. Drift into that memory of peace, where everything is simple, everything is calm, and the night is a warm, protective blanket that holds you close until morning. In the dim, quiet hours of the night, the tall, silver-backed mirrors of the palace undergo a subtle transformation. By day, they are clear. Sharp observers of the court, capturing the precise details of royal life. The stiff lace, the precise posture, the careful arrangement of jewels. But as the candles burn low and the shadows lengthen, these mirrors soften. They become pools of deep liquid darkness, reflecting the room in muted, ghostly outlines. Elizabeth would often pause before them, seeing not her own features but a gentle ethereal silhouette that seemed to blend into the surrounding night. There is a profound sense of release in this fading reflection. It is a reminder that the self we present to the world, the mask of duty, the weight of reputation, the constant vigilance of the ruler, is but a temporary arrangement. In the mirror of the night, all those roles dissolve. She is no longer the princess or the future monarch. She is simply a human soul drifting in the quiet expanse of existence. This was a moment of absolute freedom, a shedding of expectations that felt as light as the fading light itself. She would watch as the candlelight danced upon the surface of the glass, creating ripples of amber that slowly dimmed. It was a visual lullaby, a slow, hypnotic movement that invited her to lose track of where her reflection ended and the darkness began. To gaze into these mirrors was to practice the art of letting go. One by one, the concerns of the day, the whispered rumours, the unfinished letters, the heavy responsibilities, seemed to slip from her shoulders and dissolve into the glass, leaving behind a lightness that was both physical and spiritual. As you lie in the quiet of your room, imagine those same deep, dark mirrors around you, in the dimness of your own sanctuary. You too can let go of the roles you play during the day. You do not need to be the person the world expects you to be right now. You can let the image of who you are supposed to be soften, blur, and eventually vanish into the peace of the night. Feel the boundaries of your body becoming soft, less defined, and perfectly at ease. You are dissolving into the comfort of the stillness. The mirror of your mind is clear, calm, and empty, reflecting only the vast, peaceful potential of the night. There is no pressure to maintain any appearance, no need to hold yourself together. Let go of the I that worries, the I that plans, and the I that performs. Simply be the quiet breath, the peaceful rhythm, and the gentle presence in the dark. You are sinking deeper into a state where you are held by the night, cradled by the silence, and drifting toward a sleep that is as deep and restorative as the ancient quiet shadows in the glass. In the deepest hours of the night, the heavy velvet curtains of Elizabeth's chamber served as the final threshold between the palace and the world beyond. These were not merely window dressings, they were massive woven barriers of deep crimson and midnight blue, designed to seal out the draughts, the sounds, and the persistent restlessness of the night. When Elizabeth drew them shut, the heavy fabric would slide along the iron rod with a soft, muffled sound, a final definitive closing of the day. As the curtains fell into place, the room would instantly feel smaller, more intimate, and incredibly safe. There is a unique texture to such heavy velvet. It absorbs light, and more importantly, it absorbs sound. The bustling noises of the courtyard, the distant clatter of hooves on stone, and the restless whistling of the wind across the battlements were all silenced by the plush, dense folds of the cloth. Once the curtains were drawn, the room became a self-contained sanctuary, a pocket of stillness carved out of the vastness of the palace. Elizabeth felt a visceral sense of relief whenever she touched that fabric, feeling its warmth and its weight. It was as if the room itself were wrapping its arms around her, promising that nothing from the outside could reach her here. She would often stand for a moment in the space between the window and the curtain, feeling the small, cool gap of air before pulling the velvet tight. It was a ritual of protection within this fold. There was no court, no duty, no history to write. There was only the warmth of the hearth, the soft glow of the last embers, and the absolute velvet-lined silence. It was a space where she could be entirely unobserved, entirely at peace, and entirely her own. As you lie in your bed, imagine the soft, heavy curtains of your own sanctuary being drawn shut. Feel the sudden quiet that descends as the fabric meets. The world outside, with all its demands and light, is now completely distanced, blocked by the plush, protective layers of the night. You are cocooned in warmth, shielded from the chill of the dark, and held in a space that is designed only for your comfort. Let the weight of the day settle against these curtains and fall away. You are safe. You are enclosed in a space of complete serenity. The air in your room is still. The darkness is soft, and the quiet is absolute. With every breath, feel the velvet embrace of the night becoming more pronounced. You are sinking deeper into the softness, becoming part of the stillness. Everything is tucked away, everything is quiet, and you are drifting effortlessly into the deep, restorative currents of sleep. The world is far away, and you are here perfectly, peacefully at rest. Finally, the moment arrived when Elizabeth would retreat to the centre of her great high-posted bed. This was the culmination of all the quiet rituals of the evening, a surrender of the body to the absolute comfort of down pillows and heavy, smooth linens. As she sank into the mattress, the feathers shifted beneath her, rising up to cradle her form with a gentle, persistent softness. It was as if the bed itself was made of clouds, a buoyant space that supported her weight completely, leaving her feeling light, unburdened, and entirely relaxed. She would rest her head upon the silk-cased pillow, feeling the cool, crisp fabric against her cheek. The tension that had been held in her shoulders, her neck, and her limbs throughout the long, demanding day seemed to simply dissolve into the mattress. Each muscle, one by one, was allowed to go slack. There was no longer a need to hold a posture, to maintain an expression, or to carry the weight of her responsibilities. The bed asked for nothing but her presence. It offered only the promise of total physical release. In this deep, quiet comfort, the world of the palace, the cold stone, the flickering torches, the echoing hallways, felt like a dream that was slowly drifting out of reach. Here, in the centre of the nest she had created, she was safe. The linens smelled faintly of dried lavender and clean air, a scent that invited her to breathe slowly and deeply. With each breath, she felt herself sinking deeper into the softness, the boundaries between her body and the bed becoming blurred, until she felt as though she were floating, suspended in a sea of calm. As you lie in your bed, I invite you to mimic this total surrender. Notice the places where your body meets the mattress. Feel the softness beneath you, rising up to meet you, holding you gently in place. Allow every point of contact to be a signal to your muscles that it is time to stop working. Let your feet be heavy, your legs be loose, and your hands rest softly at your sides. Imagine your bed as a place of absolute safety, a sanctuary that has been waiting all day for your arrival. As you settle in, let your breathing find its natural slow rhythm. With each exhale, feel yourself sinking deeper into the cushion, further into the comfort, until there is no tension left in your body at all. You are perfectly supported, perfectly warm, and perfectly at peace. The day has receded, the night has folded around you, and you are drifting now, carried by the gentle, soft tide of your own exhaustion toward the quiet shores of sleep. The final transition is the quietest of all. As Elizabeth lies in the deep, enveloping dark, all external sensations begin to recede, leaving only the most fundamental rhythmic aspects of her own being. There is the steady, soft inflation and deflation of her lungs, a gentle tide of air that moves in, sustains, and flows out. There is the slow, calm beating of her heart, a muffled internal drum that has carried her through the challenges of the day and now marks the transition into the stillness of the night. In this state, there is no history, no court, no duty. There is only the rhythm. It is a biological lullaby, a cadence as old as life itself. She observes this rhythm not as a participant, but as a silent witness, feeling the warmth of her own life energy as it cycles through her, grounding her to the earth, even as her consciousness begins to drift into the expanse of the dream world. It is the ultimate form of presence to be so completely at home in one's own body that the boundaries of the self feel fluid, open, and ready to rest. She knows that she has done enough. The day has been navigated, the tasks have been set aside, and the transition is complete. The room is silent, the night is dark, and her own body is the most peaceful place she can ever inhabit. She does not need to force the sleep. It is already waiting for her, a deep restorative pool into which she can simply let go. She closes her eyes, and the last flicker of thought, a single soft reflection on the peace of the evening, dissolves into the deepening, gentle velvet of the night. As you lie here, find your own rhythm, feel the steady rise and fall of your chest. With every breath you are not just relaxing, you are returning to a state of perfect natural equilibrium. Your heart beats with a slow, reassuring regularity, a reminder that you are cared for, you are safe, and you are exactly where you are meant to be. Do not focus on the words, do not hold on to any image, simply follow the breath in and out. The silence is growing deeper, the comfort is becoming absolute. Your body is heavy, warm, and utterly surrendered to the bed. You are sliding into the quiet, beneath the layers of the day, past the threshold of consciousness, into the deep, dark, and wonderful calm of sleep. Everything has come to rest. The night is yours. Sleep now, deeply and peacefully. As the last thread of conscious thought gently unravels, Elizabeth drifts across the threshold into the landscape of dreams. It is not a sudden departure, but a slow, shimmering transition, like a boat moving quietly from a harbour into the vast, calm sea. The sharp edges of the palace walls, the memory of the day's events, and the weight of her crown all fade into soft, translucent memories. She is moving into a space where time does not flow in a straight line, but drifts like the tide, guided only by the gentle winds of her own subconscious. In this realm, the world is painted in softer, dream-touched colours. The gardens she walks through are filled with flowers that glow with a gentle inner light, and the halls of the palace are replaced by vast open forests where the air is sweet and still. There is a profound sense of freedom here, a lightness of being that she rarely feels in the waking world. She is not a princess, not a ruler, not a daughter. She is simply a spirit, exploring the limitless potential of her own imagination. The quiet of the night deepens, becoming an embrace that holds her steady. She feels the restoration beginning, a subtle healing energy flowing through her limbs, repairing the small weariness of the day. It is a quiet work carried out in the stillness of the subconscious, as her mind weaves together the fragments of her experiences into something new, something beautiful, and something entirely at peace. She is safe within this dream haven, protected by the velvet curtain of the night. As you join her at this threshold, let your own world dissolve into the same soft light. Whatever thoughts remain, let them drift away like leaves on a slow-moving stream. There is nothing to hold on to, nothing to analyze, and nothing to solve. You are moving into the expansive, creative, and gentle landscape of your own mind. Feel yourself becoming lighter, freer, and more deeply at peace. The rhythm of your breathing is now the only anchor you need, a steady, guiding pulse that carries you deeper into the restorative warmth of sleep. You are protected, you are resting, and you are ready to be renewed. The dream is beginning, a quiet, wonderful journey that will carry you through the night until the soft light of morning returns. For now there is only the peace, the silence, and the beautiful, deep surrender to the rest you have earned. While the rest of the world rests under the deep canopy of night, the moon rises, casting a silver, ethereal glow through the tall, leaded windows of the palace. This is the hour when the stone walls seem to absorb the light, radiating a soft, cool luminescence that fills the rooms with a ghostly, peaceful calm. Elizabeth, deep in the serenity of her slumber, is bathed in this quiet radiance. It touches the tapestries, turning their faded colours into shades of pearl and shadow, and glides across the floor like a silent, slow-moving river of light. There is a celestial dignity to the moon's presence. It is the silent sentinel of the night, watching over the palace with an ancient, unchanging grace. In its light, all the complexities of the day are washed away, replaced by the simple, silver truth of the cosmos. Everything in the room, the desk where she wrote, the chair where she rested, the bed where she now dreams, is touched by this gentle, cooling energy. It is a light that does not demand, does not judge, and does not wake. It only illuminates the peace that already exists. For those who are awake enough to witness it, the moon offers a sense of perspective. It reminds us that we are part of a grand, beautiful design, moving in time with the rhythms of the earth and the heavens. But for the sleeper, this light acts as a protective layer, a silver seal that ensures the night remains undisturbed. It is a quiet, steady presence that says, "All is well, the world is at rest, you are safe." As you lie here, imagine this soft, silver light filtering into your own room. Feel it as a cool, soothing touch on your skin, a gentle pressure that encourages you to sink even deeper into the softness of your bed. The light moves across your walls in slow, graceful patterns, a celestial dance that mirrors the steady rhythm of your breathing. Let this moonlight clear away the last remaining traces of your day, turning any lingering thoughts into light, ephemeral shadows that simply dissolve into the night. You are being watched over by the vast, quiet beauty of the universe. Feel the cool air, see the soft glow, and trust in the stillness of the hour. Your mind is no longer your own. It belongs to the dreams, to the quiet, and to the deep, healing waters of sleep. You are drifting further, carried by the silver tide of the night, enveloped in a peace that is as profound as the starlit sky itself. Everything is quiet. Everything is luminous. Everything is ready for your long, dreamless, and restorative rest. In the quiet wood-panelled office of the palace, the heavy iron keys hang in a perfectly ordered row against the wall. Each one is a tool of duty: keys to the cellar, the buttery, the heavy main gates, and the secret winding staircases. But at this hour they are motionless, their work finished, their purpose fulfilled. They hang in the soft silver moonlight, silent and still. There is no more locking to be done, no more unlocking, no more turning of mechanisms. The palace is secured, the boundaries are set, and the day has been carefully, firmly closed. There is something deeply satisfying about the sight of these keys. They represent the finality of the evening. Every door that needed to be closed is now latched. Every passage that needed to be secured is now safe. For Elizabeth, knowing that the palace was locked and guarded provided a profound, invisible comfort. It meant that she was not responsible for the safety of the household tonight, that burden had been lifted and placed into the hands of the night watch. She was free, utterly and completely, to simply rest. The iron is cold, dark and steady. It holds a sense of permanence that the soft, flickering world of the daytime lacks. These keys are the silent sentinels of her domestic peace. They do not clatter, they do not shift, and they ask for nothing. They simply exist in their state of quiet readiness, waiting for the morning, but for now they are resting just as she is resting. The house is sealed, a fortress of tranquillity, holding within its stone walls a garden of stillness where the only movement is the slow, rhythmic expansion of a sleeping heart. As you lie here, imagine those keys hanging on their hooks, perfectly still in the quiet. Visualize your own day as a series of tasks now completed. One by one, each door of your responsibility is now closed and locked. You have turned the key on your worries, you have secured the gate of your work, and you have set aside the burdens of your role. You do not need to worry about anything outside of this room. The locks are set, the house is safe, and you are tucked away, sheltered from the world by the firm, quiet security of your own sanctuary. Feel the relief of this total completion. You have nothing left to do. The iron is solid, the doors are shut, and you are surrounded by an unbreakable ring of peace. Your mind is quiet, your spirit is at ease, and your body is perfectly relaxed. The keys of the night have done their work. All that remains is the slow, deep and comfortable sinking into the rest you have earned. Everything is locked away, you are safe, and you are ready to drift into a deep, dreamless and beautiful sleep. On the desk in Elizabeth's study, a small, elegant hourglass stands as a silent observer of the late hours. Its frame is of dark, polished wood, and inside a fine trickle of crystalline sand moves with a deliberate, hypnotic rhythm. Elizabeth would often watch it when the evening was at its absolute peak of silence. The sound is imperceptible, a soft, granular friction that is more felt than heard. As she watched the tiny particles descend, she found her mind mirroring their motion, slow, steady, and inevitable. The hourglass is a vessel of the present. Every grain that falls is a moment that has been lived and now rests in the base, gathered in a calm, settled pile. There is no urgency in the hourglass. It does not rush, and it does not hesitate. It simply allows the time to pass, one grain at a time, until the top is empty and the work of the day is truly done. For Elizabeth, this was the ultimate symbol of peace. To watch the sand is to practice the art of letting go, accepting that each moment must pass so that the next can arrive in its own quiet time. She noticed how, as the night deepened, the pace of her own thoughts seemed to match the dwindling supply of sand. They became thinner, quieter, and more spaced out until they were merely echoes of themselves. The light in the room grew dimmer, the shadows grew longer, and the last few grains of sand descended with a beautiful, soft deliberation. Then, at last, the movement ceased. The top was clear, the bottom was full, and the time for activity had officially ended. A profound, hollow silence filled the study, a silence that felt like a gentle, waiting invitation to sleep. As you lie here in your own quiet space, visualize that hourglass beside you. Imagine your remaining thoughts for the day as these tiny, fine grains of sand. With every breath you take, one grain falls, settling softly into the base of the glass. You are not holding on to them. You are allowing them to drift down, past the narrow waist of the glass, and into the stillness below. Each breath is one less thought, one less worry, one less thing you need to carry. Feel the pace of your mind slowing down to match the descent of the sand. It is becoming slow, gentle, and perfectly still. The top of your mind is clearing, becoming a vast, open space of calm. The grains are falling slower now, more infrequently, until finally they stop altogether. The flow has ceased. Everything is balanced. Everything is at rest. You are now entirely in the bottom of the glass, gathered in a soft, peaceful mound, held in the absolute stillness of the night. You are ready, you are drifting. The time for rest has arrived, and you are sinking into a deep, silent, and wonderfully restorative sleep. Outside the palace walls, a gentle restorative rain has just passed, leaving behind a world that feels newly washed and profoundly still. The air that drifts through the slightly open window is cool, clean, and carries the intoxicating earthy fragrance of rain-kissed stone and damp moss. It is the scent of renewal, a perfume that nature creates when it has finally settled the dust of the day. Elizabeth would lean close to the window, feeling the mist of the lingering dampness on her skin, and for a moment the world felt entirely cleansed. There is a unique tranquillity that follows a night rain. The usual sounds of the world are dampened, muffled by the moisture in the air. The trees stand silent, their leaves holding small, diamond-like droplets that catch the faint glimmer of the moonlight. Every stone of the palace seems to breathe in the coolness, releasing a sense of stability and quiet strength. In this moment there is no noise, not even the rustle of a mouse or the distant call of an owl. Everything has bowed its head to the silence of the rain. She found that this scent, this deep, primal aroma of the earth, was the most effective lullaby. It grounded her, reminding her of the ancient cycles of the seasons, of the way the earth knows how to refresh itself, how to let go of what has passed, and how to begin again, fresh and untroubled. It was a lesson in simplicity. She didn't need to do anything to make the world clean. The rain had done it for her. She only needed to receive it, to breathe it in and to let it wash over her tired spirit. As you lie here, imagine this same clean, damp air entering your room. It is crisp, cool, and incredibly refreshing. Feel it as it moves over your skin, a soft touch that instantly cools any lingering heat or tension in your body. Breathe in deeply and let the scent of the rain-washed earth fill your senses. With every inhalation you are drawing in that purity, allowing it to cleanse your mind of any remaining clutter or worry. Exhale slowly, and with every breath out, feel the world around you becoming even more still, even more serene. You are being washed clean by the quiet of the night. The damp, cool earth is holding you. The silence of the rain is sheltering you, and you are drifting in a space that is as fresh and clear as a new morning. You are light, you are calm, and you are completely at peace. The air is still, the night is beautiful, and you are ready to sink into the deepest, most restorative sleep you have ever known. On the bedside table, the last remaining taper of the evening is coming to the end of its life. The flame, once tall and bold, has narrowed down to a tiny golden bead of light that dances with a slow, hypnotic rhythm. Elizabeth would watch it, fascinated by its persistence, its quiet refusal to vanish until every drop of wax had been consumed. It cast long, dancing shadows against the tapestries, painting the room in shifting, golden hues that seemed to pulse in time with her own slowing heart. There is a profound, meditative beauty in watching a candle go out. It is a process of gentle surrender. The light does not fight the darkness. It simply allows itself to merge with it, thinning out, becoming smaller and more focused until, with a tiny, imperceptible sigh, it gives way. In that moment of transition, the room is transformed. The golden warmth is replaced by the cool velvet embrace of the deep night, and the world, which moments ago seemed defined by the light, now exists in a state of absolute tranquil unity. For Elizabeth, this was the final sign that the day was truly over. As the light vanished, so too did the last remnants of her alertness. The shadows, which had been so active, now became static, comfortable companions in the dark. The silence of the room was no longer just a lack of sound. It was a physical presence, a gentle, protective weight that invited her to let go of everything. She would close her eyes, her mind matching the stillness of the room, ready to sink into the deep, dark ocean of sleep. As you lie here, imagine that same small golden light in your room. Watch it as it narrows, becoming a soft flickering point of warmth in the vastness of the darkness. It is the final anchor of your day, a tiny spark that holds no weight, no demand, and no concern. With every slow breath you take, the light grows smaller, softer, and more peaceful. It is moving towards its rest, and you are moving with it. The flame is getting smaller now, flickering, dimming, settling. Feel yourself following that light into the soft velvet dark. There is no fear in this transition, only a deep, welcoming sense of release. The light is so small now, just a tiny golden pulse. And then, with a final peaceful breath, it settles. The darkness is total. The room is still. You are completely enveloped in the quiet, safe, and warm embrace of the night. You are drifting beyond thought, beyond time, into the deep, silent stillness where sleep is waiting to hold you. Everything is dark, everything is quiet, and you are perfectly, beautifully at rest. Deep within the silent heart of the palace, the great mahogany grandfather clock continues its faithful solitary duty. Its pendulum swings with a slow, deliberate grace, left to right, right to left, a constant, unwavering rhythm that fills the stillness of the house. Tick-tock, tick-tock. It is the heartbeat of the architecture, a sound that has resonated through these halls for decades, unaffected by the fleeting concerns of those who dwell within. To Elizabeth, this sound was not a reminder of time passing, but a reminder of time's endurance. The rhythm is hypnotic. Because it is so steady, so predictable, the mind does not need to analyze it. Instead, the mind simply follows it, allowing the pulse of the clock to become the pulse of the room. It is a grounding anchor, When the world outside feels chaotic or fast, the clock reminds one of a deeper, slower tempo, a tempo that invites the body to relax, to let go of its own frantic pace and to align with the unhurried movement of the universe. Elizabeth would listen to those echoes from her bed, finding that the distance, the sound travelling through the thick stone walls and ornate doorways, softened the clicks into something velvety and muted. It was like hearing the heartbeat of the night itself. Each swing of the pendulum seemed to carve out a little more peace, a little more space for rest. With every tick, she felt her muscles loosen. With every tock, she felt her mind drift further from the shore of wakefulness. As you lie here, listen for that same rhythm in the silence of your own night. Even if the room is quiet, imagine that steady, pendulum-like motion swaying in the dark. Tick, tock. Let your breathing fall into perfect harmony with this sound. Let your heart slow its pace to match the heavy iron swing of the clock. You are being carried by time, not pressured by it. You are being held in the safety of this rhythm. Tick, you release a little more tension from your shoulders. Tock, you let go of one more thought. You are sinking into a state where you are no longer watching the time, but simply existing within it. The rhythm is becoming slower, deeper, more gentle, until it is just a soft, rhythmic hum in the background of your mind. You are drifting toward the deep, silent stillness where there is no time at all, only rest, only peace, and the soft velvet dark of sleep. Along the walls of Elizabeth's study, the shelves rise high, packed with volumes bound in worn calfskin and velvet. These are the keepers of secrets, the repositories of wisdom, and the archives of history. But tonight they are not to be read, they are not to be studied, they too are resting. In the dim moonlight, the gold leaf lettering on their spines catches the faint gleam, soft and muted. They stand in a profound, dignified silence, each book holding its narrative tight within its pages, waiting for a morning that feels very far away. There is something deeply comforting about a library at rest. It suggests that all the answers have been found, all the battles have been chronicled, and all the questions have been asked. There is no need to seek more information, no need to turn another page. Everything is known, everything is recorded, and everything is at peace. Elizabeth would look at those shelves and feel a sense of completion. She didn't need to be the seeker tonight. She could simply be the one who rested, surrounded by the weight of centuries of quiet knowledge. The smell of old parchment, dry leather, and dust is a scent of stability. It is the scent of a long, undisturbed life. As she drifted off, the presence of those books acted as a silent library of dreams. She felt as though she were resting in the centre of a vast, calm ocean of stories, all of them silenced by the night, all of them woven into the stillness of the dark. The characters within the pages were sleeping, the authors were resting, and the knowledge was tucked away, safe until the sun returned. As you lie here, imagine your own room transformed into such a sanctuary. Think of all the books in your life, all the information you have gathered, all the things you have learned. Now imagine them all resting on a shelf, quietly holding your memories and your lessons for you. You do not need to carry your knowledge tonight. You do not need to solve any problems or seek any new wisdom. It is all there, safe, waiting for you to pick it up when the time is right. For now, release the need to know, release the need to understand. Feel the quiet wisdom of the dark surrounding you, like the stillness of a great library after the lamps have been extinguished. You are in a place of perfect completion. The stories of your day are finished. The chapters are closed, and you are drifting into the most beautiful silent page of all. Your mind is quiet, your senses are dimmed, and you are sinking deeper into the soft velvet pages of sleep. Everything is known, everything is quiet, and you are perfectly, peacefully at rest. Near the tall, arched window, the sheer silk curtains hang like ethereal veils, catching the faint night breeze. They move with a slow, deliberate grace, swaying inward and then breathing back out into the cool air of the garden. It is a soft, rhythmic dance, a constant gentle flow that seems to mimic the very movement of a deep, restful breath. Elizabeth would often watch this movement as the last of her awareness faded, finding that the way the fabric rippled was the perfect visual lullaby. There is no effort in their motion. They are not fighting the wind, they are simply yielding to it, flowing where the air directs them, returning always to a state of soft vertical stillness. In the moonlight, the silk appears almost liquid, a pale, shimmering curtain that separates the room from the vast, dark expanse of the night. It feels light, almost transparent, a reminder that the barriers we build between ourselves and the world can be as delicate and soft as a weave of thread. She felt as though her own spirit were becoming like that silk, unattached, light, and moving in total harmony with the currents of the room. There was no need to stay rigid or upright. She could let herself be soft, let herself be moved by the calm energy of the hour. As the curtains rippled, they seemed to carry away any lingering thoughts, unfolding them into the night air until they were gone, leaving only the quiet space of the chamber, clear and inviting. As you lie here, imagine those same silken curtains near you. See them moving in the soft night air, slow, elegant, and perfectly at peace. Let your own mind become as light and fluid as that fabric. You are not solid, you are not burdened, you are not held by the heavy expectations of the day. You are light, you are free, and you're flowing with the gentle rhythm of your own breathing. In and out, the curtains sway, in and out. You are becoming lighter with every movement. Let your thoughts ripple and fade, thinning out until they are just soft shadows against the dark. There is nothing to hold on to, nothing to resist. Just allow yourself to move with the grace of the night, yielding to the calm, letting go of all your tension. You are floating on a gentle current of peace, drifting further and further into the open space of sleep, where everything is as soft, as quiet, and as beautiful as the moonlit silk. You are ready. You are drifting. You are fully at rest. Upon the mantel of the fireplace, a collection of delicate white porcelain vases stands in the moonlight. They are smooth, unadorned, and flawlessly crafted, their surfaces reflecting the silver light with a cool, quiet brilliance. In the stillness of the deep night, they seem to possess a serenity that is almost otherworldly. They do not hold flowers tonight. They hold only the cool, still air of the room, acting as silent vessels for the peace that has settled over the palace. There is a profound purity in these objects. Their whiteness is absolute, untouched by the shadows that gather in the corners of the room. Elizabeth would often gaze at them as she drifted towards sleep, finding that their simple, perfect form helped to clear the clutter from her own mind. When one looks at something so devoid of complexity, so complete in its own existence, it becomes easier to let go of the complex, tangled thoughts that linger from the daylight hours. They represent a state of being, simple, solid, and entirely at rest. In their presence, the room feels sanctified. It is as if these vessels are guarding the silence, ensuring that nothing jarring or disruptive breaks the spell of the evening. They are heavy with grace, yet light to the eye. They remind her that even in a life filled with noise and duty, there exists the possibility of a white space, a place within oneself that is clean, quiet, and beautifully empty. It is from this place that true rest grows, blossoming in the dark, like the curve of a porcelain rim. As you lie here, envision these white, smooth vessels in your own mind. Imagine them catching the soft light of the moon, their surfaces cool and perfectly still. If your mind feels crowded with images or words, visualize yourself placing them gently into these vessels, one by one. You are letting go of the need to hold on to them. You are leaving them in the care of these silent, peaceful observers, allowing your own mind to become like the vessels themselves, smooth, empty, and beautifully bright. Feel your consciousness smoothing out, becoming as clear as the polished surface of the porcelain. There is no texture of worry, no crack of concern. You are polished and calm. You are a vessel of quiet energy, resting in the cool silver light of the night. You are perfectly contained, perfectly safe, and perfectly at peace. Let your mind remain in this state of pure, open stillness. You are sinking deeper into the basin of sleep, filling with the deep, replenishing silence of the dark. You are resting now, whole and complete. Spread across the floor of the inner chamber is a magnificent carpet, woven with intricate floral patterns that seem to bloom even in the dimness of the night. Tiny, delicate roses, winding vines, and soft, leafy tendrils are knotted into the fabric, creating a perennial garden that never fades. Elizabeth would often trace these patterns with her eyes as she prepared for sleep, following the gentle curve of a stem, the soft swirl of a petal, or the quiet intersection of a branch. It is a garden that asks for nothing, a landscape of silk and wool that is entirely content to simply exist. There is a quiet intelligence in such a design. It is orderly, balanced, and perfectly composed. To look at it is to witness the way individual threads have been brought together to create something larger, something beautiful, and something enduring. In her mind, Elizabeth would imagine herself walking through this woven garden. Her feet move soundlessly over the petals, and with every step she feels a sense of profound calm. It is a path where there are no obstacles, no decisions to be made, and no rush to arrive anywhere. The garden is already complete. This floor-bound forest is a place of absolute stillness. The colours are muted now, washed in shades of midnight blue, deep charcoal and silver, reflecting the quiet of the night. It serves as a grounding foundation for the room, a base of soft, tactile peace that radiates upwards. As she rests in her bed, she feels the presence of this woven garden beneath her, holding the room, keeping it anchored in beauty, and surrounding her with the gentle, silent essence of nature. As you lie here, imagine this soft, intricate carpet beneath you, or perhaps imagine it unfolding before your mind's eye. Let your gaze drift along the pattern. Follow the gentle, looping curve of a vine as it moves across the fabric. See how the threads interweave, creating a beautiful, cohesive whole. You do not need to count them. You do not need to name them. Simply follow the path of the design with your thoughts. With every loop and turn, feel your own mind softening, following the gentle, rhythmic lines of the garden. You are walking through a space of pure art, a place where everything is placed exactly where it should be. The colours are soothing, the shapes are calm, and the entire garden is resting. Just as you are resting, you are moving deeper into this serene landscape, your consciousness blooming quietly like the flowers in the weave. There is no urgency here, only the soft, endless beauty of the pattern. You are drifting, relaxed and fully immersed in the quiet, tangled and wonderful peace of the night. Sleep is waiting for you in the centre of the garden, a soft, comfortable place where you can finally close your eyes and let go. In the shadowed corner of the room stands a pair of large, heavy pottery jars, their surfaces textured with the marks of the potter's hands and the passage of many decades. They are not as delicate as the porcelain on the mantel. They are robust, earthen, and deeply rooted in the history of the house. Elizabeth often found comfort in their presence. While the world outside changed with the seasons and the politics of the court, these jars remained exactly as they were, quiet, sturdy, and unchanging. They held the weight of the past with a silent, steadfast dignity. There is a unique stillness that comes from objects that have seen much time. These jars have stood through winters and summers, through periods of great joy and moments of profound quiet. They have become part of the room's foundation, silent observers that require no attention and offer no demands. To look at them is to remember that time is not something to be feared or rushed, but something to be held like the clay itself, in a form that is strong and enduring. They offer a sense of perspective that is deeply grounding, particularly in the dark of the night. Elizabeth would feel a sense of security knowing they were there. Their presence reminded her that the palace too was a vessel, holding the lives of those within it, protecting them with its thick ancient walls, and providing a sanctuary that had existed long before her and would exist long after. As she settled into sleep, the stillness of the pottery seemed to seep into the floorboards, creating a zone of absolute, immovable tranquillity. It was the quiet of the earth itself, cool and calm and eternal. As you lie here, imagine those heavy earthen jars in the corner of your own sanctuary. Feel the stability they radiate. They are not fragile, they are not easily moved. They represent a deep, steady peace that is woven into the very structure of your rest. If your mind feels flighty or restless, let those thoughts drift toward these sturdy vessels. Let them land there safe and grounded, like water poured into a deep, dark pool. You are being anchored by this stillness. You do not need to be anywhere else. You are exactly where you are meant to be. Feel your own body becoming as heavy and relaxed as the clay, not a burden, but a natural, peaceful weight that sinks into the comfort of your bed. The night is holding you, the past is resting, and you are part of a continuous, quiet flow of time. You are safe within this space. You are perfectly grounded. You are drifting into the deep, dark, and wonderful quiet, where only rest remains. Everything is still, everything is calm. You are asleep. Near the heavy oaken door of the bedchamber, a small cluster of brass keys hangs from a decorative iron hook. As the night air moves with a soft, cooling touch through the room, the keys occasionally stir. They give off the lightest, most delicate chime, a sound like a soft whisper of metal against metal. Clink, soft, sweet, and low. It is not a jarring noise. It is a small rhythmic greeting from the inanimate objects that keep the house safe. To Elizabeth, this sound was the final confirmation that the world outside was locked away and the world inside was secure. There is a lullaby in the sound of brass. It is a warm golden resonance that seems to capture the last traces of the day's sunlight and turn them into quiet music. In the stillness of the late hour, even the smallest sound carries a great weight of peace. She would wait for that tiny clink, a sound so faint it was almost part of the silence, and feel her pulse slow to match it. It was a rhythmic pulse of security, a tiny bell of tranquility that resonated in the hollows of her mind, signalling that no alarms needed to be sounded, no duties remained. The keys themselves, forged in a different time, possess an enduring golden glow even in the dark. They have felt the warmth of human hands for years, and tonight they are resting just as she is. The sound of their movement is a reminder that she is not alone in her sanctuary. She is watched over by the structure of the palace itself, which holds her as gently as it holds the doors. The quiet of the room is now so profound that this tiny chime feels like a heartbeat, a steady, reassuring pulse that anchors her to the present moment. As you lie here, listen for this sound in the back of your own consciousness. Imagine that tiny golden chime of brass. Clink. It is the sound of a door being locked for the night, the sound of a gate closing upon all your worries. You have no need to keep watch. The keys have already done the work for you. You are held in a safe, protected, and quiet embrace. Feel your vigilance dropping away layer by layer, as if you are unburdening yourself of the weight of the day, just as the keys hang unburdened on their hook. Breathe in the peace of this secure environment. There is no one to answer to, nowhere to be, and nothing to solve. The keys are still, the room is still, and you are becoming still. That soft rhythmic chime is now the only sound you follow, a gentle thread of light leading you further into the velvet depths of sleep. You are drifting, turning away from the light of the day, moving towards the dark, calm, and beautiful stillness where rest resides. Everything is secure. Everything is quiet. You are ready to let go completely and drift into a deep, dreamless, and restorative slumber. Adorning the walls of the great chamber are heavy, elaborate tapestries that have watched over these halls for generations. They are woven with intricate scenes of forests, mythical beasts, and quiet golden meadows, a world captured in wool and silk. In the soft, shifting light of the moon, the figures within these woven landscapes seem to breathe with a life of their own. They are the silent storytellers of the palace, holding within their fibres the echoes of thousands of nights just like this one. There is a sense of eternity in their presence, a reminder that the world continues moving slowly and gracefully through the cycles of time. Elizabeth often found herself looking at these tapestries when the weight of her responsibilities felt particularly heavy. She would follow the thread of a river depicted in the wool, or the curve of a distant woven mountain, and feel her own problems shrink in scale. Compared to the enduring nature of these scenes, her worries were but passing clouds. The characters in the tapestry were always at rest, always in their tranquil, unchanging meadows, untouched by the noise of court or the pressures of the day. They offered her a window into a different state of existence, one of calm, poise, and absolute serenity. As the night deepened, the colours of the tapestries, deep indigo, forest green, and muted gold, seemed to soften, blending into the very shadows of the room. They became a warm, protective layer between her and the outer world, wrapping the chamber in the gentle fabric of history. It was a space where the noise of the century faded, replaced by the hushed, quiet wisdom of the woven scenes. She felt small, but in a way that was entirely comforting. She was a tiny part of a much larger, beautiful story, and for tonight her only task was to rest. As you lie here, imagine these grand, silent tapestries surrounding you. Feel the sense of history and quiet strength they bring to the room. You are not alone. You are resting in a place that has seen centuries of calm. Let your gaze, even in your mind's eye, drift across the patterns. Follow the long, slow curves of the threads. Let your thoughts be woven into the fabric of the night, becoming part of the quiet, beautiful landscape of your own imagination. Feel the heavy, soft presence of the wool and silk insulating you from the world. You are shielded by time, held in the warmth of the past. All the tension in your body is being absorbed into the quiet scenery of the tapestries. Your mind is slowing, becoming as still and serene as the meadows depicted on the wall. You are fading into the background of a peaceful, eternal night, drifting away from the surface of your day and into the deep dark and wonderfully restorative stillness of sleep. Everything is woven together in perfect peace. You are ready. You are resting. You are asleep. High above the palace, beyond the reach of any stone or wall, the vast expanse of the night sky unfolds in a brilliant, silent symphony of stars. Through the canopy of the palace garden, the light of these ancient luminaries filters down, fragmented by the dark, swaying leaves, into a mosaic of shimmering, distant points of grace. Elizabeth would watch them through the window, feeling the cool celestial light wash over the room. There is an immense, quiet wisdom in the stars. They have watched the turning of the earth for eons, undisturbed and perfectly steady. To look at the stars is to feel the smallness of one's own worries. They represent a perspective that is infinite. When she looked up, the weight of the crown, the expectations of the court, and the complex threads of her daily duties simply evaporated into the velvet blackness. She felt herself becoming like the space between the stars, open, expansive, and free. It is a feeling of weightlessness, a gentle dissolution of the self into the quiet, beautiful vastness of the universe. The night is no longer a cage of darkness, it is a canvas of infinite, peaceful possibility. The stars do not hurry, they do not strive, they simply shine, fixed in their eternal, graceful orbits. Elizabeth would find her own breathing aligning with this cosmic pace, slow, measured, and profound. The garden below, bathed in this silvery fractured light, seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the peace of the stars to settle over the earth. It is a profound, holy silence, the kind of silence that restores the soul and prepares the heart for the deepest levels of slumber. As you lie here, imagine those same stars watching over you. Look up through the ceiling of your room and visualize the endless, calm and glittering sky. Feel that vastness opening up within you. Let your mind expand, moving past the walls, past the roof, and out into the quiet, beautiful dark of the cosmos. You are part of this infinite design, held in the same steady, gentle care that moves the stars through the night. Feel the light of those distant fires touching your skin, cooling your mind and settling your spirit. With every breath you are becoming more like the night sky, vast, calm, and utterly at peace. Your individual burdens are fading into the background of this immense silent beauty. You are letting go of everything that is not essential. leaving only the quiet, shimmering light of your own existence. You are safe in the hands of the universe. You are floating in the gentle, boundless deep of the night, ready to drift into the silent, star-filled ocean of sleep. Everything is infinite. Everything is quiet. You are completely at rest. On the grand four-poster bed, the pillows are heaped in a luxurious, inviting mountain of velvet and down. They are deep, plush, and incredibly soft, designed to cradle the head and release all the tension from the neck and shoulders. Elizabeth would sink into them, feeling the material yield under her weight like a gentle, protective cloud. The velvet, cool to the touch and soothing against the skin, feels like the most delicate of embraces. In this haven of softness, every hard edge of the day begins to blur. There is a profound sense of surrender in letting oneself sink into such comfort. It is a physical declaration that the work is done, that the body is ready to be held, and that the spirit is permitted to soften. As Elizabeth lay back, she felt the support of the pillows rising up to meet her, conforming to the contours of her body. It was as if the very bed were whispering, "You are held. You are safe. You do not need to hold yourself up anymore." This release of physical effort is the final bridge to the world of dreams. The room is silent, save for the faint, steady rhythm of her own breathing, now slow and deep. The velvet absorbs any stray sounds, wrapping the space in a cocoon of warmth and tranquility. She felt the heavy, comforting weight of the blankets, the gentle pressure of the pillows, and the absence of any remaining requirement to stay awake. It is a state of total blissful surrender, where the body is no longer a tool of action, but a vessel for rest, drifting in the quiet luxury of the night. As you lie here, imagine yourself sinking into that same deep softness. Feel the pillows beneath your head, welcoming you, yielding to you. Let the tension in your jaw, your shoulders, and your arms simply drain away. Absorbed into the plush velvet, you are not holding on to anything. You are being supported by the very air, by the bed, by the silence of the night. Feel the gentle cradling pressure against your body, a soft reminder that you are completely taken care of. With every breath, you sink an inch deeper into this softness. It is like floating on a quiet, calm sea. Perfectly buoyant, perfectly relaxed. You are becoming as soft as the velvet, as still as the night, and as peaceful as a dream. There is no urgency, no movement, no thought, only the exquisite comfort of being fully and completely at rest. You are drifting into the deepest, softest sleep imaginable, held in a warm, protective embrace that will keep you safe until the morning light. Everything is soft, everything is calm, you are asleep. In the private alcove of the royal chambers, the air is thick with the faint, soothing scent of lavender and warm, damp stone. A deep basin of porcelain stands ready, filled with water that has been tempered to the perfect, gentle warmth of a summer evening. Elizabeth would often retreat here before the final hours of the night. She would feel the cool air of the palace contrast with the rising steam, a mist that clung to the air like a soft, translucent veil. This was a place of transformation, where the burdens of the day were left at the threshold and the process of renewal began. As she stepped into the water, she felt the immediate release of every muscle that had held itself rigid against the demands of the day. The water was a silent, enveloping presence. It offered no resistance, only a fluid support that held her weight and smoothed away the sharp edges of her fatigue. With every movement, the tension seemed to melt away, swirling down into the stillness of the basin, leaving her skin feeling refreshed and her spirit feeling lighter, as if she were being washed clean of all that had happened since sunrise. There is a profound meditative quality to water in the dark, the way it reflects the soft glow of a nearby candle, the way it laps against the sides of the basin with a sound like a quiet internal breath. It is a lullaby of liquid peace. She would sit there in the warm silence, eyes closed, letting the water do the work of holding her. She felt like a petal floating on a calm, dark pool, drifting away from the world of duty and into a space of pure, sensory rest. It was a cleansing, not just of the body, but of the mind, a way to wash away the last echoes of thought until only the quiet remained. As you lie here, imagine this warmth enveloping you now. Visualize the gentle steam rising in your own room, carrying away the worries of the day. Feel the sensation of warmth as it covers you, a soft, liquid blanket that soothes your skin and relaxes your very bones. If your body still holds any tightness, imagine it dissolving in this warmth, flowing out of you like mist, leaving you completely loose, completely comfortable, and completely still. You are being washed in peace. The water of the night is cleansing your spirit, leaving you bright, clear, and ready for the deepest rest. Every breath you take is a renewal. Every moment you remain still, you are sinking deeper into this basin of calm. You are floating, held and cradled by the quiet of the night. There is no urgency to leave this warmth. You are simply resting in the center of your own sanctuary, safe, clean, and perfectly at peace. Drift now, sink deeper, and let the quiet currents of the night carry you into a sleep as deep and refreshing as a dream. You are at rest, you are asleep. On the expansive bed, among the layers of velvet and down, rest the smaller decorative pillows, each one a masterpiece of needlework. They are embroidered with delicate winding vines of spun gold that catch the moonlight and hold it in tiny gleaming stitches. Elizabeth would often run her fingers over these patterns. The smooth metallic coolness of the gold thread, the subtle texture of the silk background. These were not merely decorations, they were reminders of patience, of craftsmanship, and of the beauty that can be created when one takes the time to work with care. There is a serene pleasure in tracing these golden lines. In the quiet of the night they seem to glow with a soft internal light, like a constellation mapped onto the surface of her bed. Each stitch represents a moment of intention, a deliberate choice to add beauty to the world. As she prepared for sleep, the sight of these intricate patterns reminded her that her own life, like the embroidery, was composed of thousands of small, careful moments. She did not need to be grand. She only needed to be present, to be patient, and to value the small golden threads of her own day. The room is now so quiet that even the faint rustle of the fabric against the sheets feels like a lullaby. The gold thread, shimmering in the dark, acts as a visual anchor. It pulls the eye, then softens the gaze, guiding the mind into a state of quiet, contemplative relaxation. She felt as though she were resting on a landscape of stars, each golden stitch a tiny beacon of peace that whispered, "You have done enough. You have created enough. Now it is time to be." It is a feeling of deep satisfaction, of closing the book on the day with a sense of grace and completion. As you lie here, imagine your own space filled with this same golden serenity. Visualize these delicate embroidered threads near you, catching the faint light of the moon. Each stitch is a breath of peace, a golden loop of calm that holds you secure. If you feel any remnant of the day's stress, imagine it being woven away by these golden threads, transformed into something beautiful, something quiet, something resting. Feel the texture of this piece beneath your touch, smooth, elegant, and perfectly calm. You are surrounded by the beauty you have created, the beauty you have experienced, and the beauty that now defines your rest. Let your mind follow the path of the gold thread, looping slowly, gently and rhythmically into the dark. You are being held in a pattern of perfect harmony. Your thoughts are becoming thin, golden and light, drifting away into the velvet night. You are satisfied, you are cherished, and you are fully prepared to sink into the deep, luxurious dark of sleep. Everything is golden, everything is quiet, you are resting. Standing against the far wall is a tall, ornate mirror framed in tarnished silver. In the middle of the night, it does not show the room as it is by day. It becomes a deep, silver pool of reflected moonlight. It captures the pale glow filtering through the curtains and holds it, cool and still, like a captured fragment of the night sky. Elizabeth would often look into it before turning away for the last time, seeing only the shadowy, softened outlines of her chamber. The glass is flawless. holding no memory of the past, reflecting only the present moment of absolute, undisturbed quiet. There is a powerful calm in the mirror's reflection. It is a reminder that the world is only a reflection of what we bring to it. Tonight the mirror reflects only peace, only shadows, and only the slow, rhythmic dance of the curtains. It asks for nothing, it judges nothing. It simply receives the light and gives it back, a silent witness to her quietude. She felt that if she could look into her own mind with the same clarity and lack of judgment, she would find the same silver stillness waiting there beneath the surface of all her thoughts. The silver is cool, both to the eye and to the spirit. It acts as a final threshold, a boundary between the world of waking and the world of dreams. As she gazed into it, the room seemed to stretch and deepen, becoming a vast silver-toned sanctuary where time slowed to a near halt. She felt the last vestiges of her alertness dissolving, turning into liquid light, becoming part of the mirror's deep, tranquil depth. She was ready to step across that boundary, into the reflection of a life that was quiet, still, and perfectly at ease. As you lie here, imagine this silver mirror before you. It is large, clear, and glowing with the soft blue-white light of the moon. See your own image, or rather the reflection of the calm, quiet room within it. Notice how peaceful everything looks. There is no clutter in the mirror, no movement that is not graceful, no shadow that is not soft. Your own mind is like this mirror now, a clear silver surface ready to reflect only the peace of the night. Let your focus settle on that silver light. Feel it cooling your forehead, smoothing the lines around your eyes, and bringing a gentle stillness to your heart. You are becoming like the glass, cool, clear, and completely transparent. You are allowing the world to simply pass through you, without leaving a mark. You are resting in the reflection of your own quiet soul. The mirror is dimming now, fading into the dark, and you are drifting with it, further and further into the cool, silent, and silver depths of sleep. Everything is clear, everything is still, you are completely at peace. On the mahogany desk, catching the very last sliver of moonlight, sits an antique hourglass. Its glass is thick and curved, housing a fine silken dust of white sand. For hours it has been marking the slow, silent passage of the night. Now only a small mound of sand remains in the upper bulb, while the bottom is nearly full. One by one the final grains slip through the narrow neck, thrum, 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 a sound so quiet it is barely a vibration in the air. Elizabeth would watch it, knowing that when the last grain fell, the time for the day was truly, finally, and completely concluded. There is something profoundly satisfying about watching the sand run out. It represents the closure of a cycle. All the work, all the movement, and all the thoughts of the day have been poured into this moment, gathered together into this single quiet destination. There is no need to flip the glass. There is no need to restart the count. The night has reclaimed the time, and now the hourglass stands as a monument to the stillness that has arrived. The sand has settled, the motion has ceased, and the weight of the day has been perfectly accounted for. She felt a deep sense of relief in this finality. As the last grains descended, the world within her own mind felt as though it was settling into the same calm, immovable position. The chaos of the past hours had been sifted through the trials of the evening, and what remained was only the fine, soft dust of tranquillity. It was the end of the narrative, the closing of the door, and the beginning of the great silent expanse of rest. Everything that needed to be done was done. Everything that needed to be said was said. As you lie here, imagine that hourglass sitting on your own bedside table. See the white sand, glowing faintly in the dark as the final tiny grains begin their descent. There is no rush. Each grain falls with a deliberate, peaceful purpose, finding its place in the quiet pile below. Watch them fall, one by one, slower and slower and slower. Each grain is a thought you are releasing. Each grain is a tension you're letting go. Each grain is a moment of your day, safely stored away, finished and complete. The sand is almost gone now. The upper bulb is becoming clear, open, and still. The bottom bulb is full of the accumulated peace of your entire night. You are reaching the end of the cycle. Feel your own internal rhythm slowing to match the falling of the final grains. Thrum, thrum. The last grain has fallen. The movement has stopped. The hourglass is still. Your mind is still. You have arrived at the center of the deep, silent void where sleep is not just a dream, but a state of absolute perfect existence. You are empty of worry, full of peace and drifting into the endless dark and beautiful quiet of the night. You are finished. You are resting. You are asleep. High above the palace gardens, a gentle, silent procession of night clouds drifts across the face of the moon. They are soft, translucent wisps, like frayed edges of silk or the faint breath of a dream. They do not hurry, and they do not have a destination. They simply move with the slow, invisible currents of the upper air. Elizabeth would watch them through the high, arched windows of her chamber, finding that their pathless journey was the ultimate reflection of the peace she sought. To watch a cloud is to watch a thought that has no weight, no urgency, and no place it needs to be. There is a sense of immense freedom in observing them. They represent the ability to let go, to be carried by the gentle motion of the universe rather than fighting against it. As she lay there, she imagined her own consciousness becoming like those clouds, unattached, light and floating. If a thought arose, a concern about the morrow, or a memory of the day, she would simply watch it become a cloud, drifting into the cool, dark sky until it lost its shape and dissolved into the vastness. It is a practice of total, graceful release. The sky is a deep, velvety indigo, a perfect backdrop for the slow, graceful dance of the mist. Every now and then the clouds veil the light of the stars, casting a shifting, dreamlike shadow across the room. It is a rhythmic, hypnotic visual cycle, light, shadow, light, shadow. It lulls the mind into a state of semi-consciousness, where the boundary between the dreamer and the dream begins to dissolve. She felt herself rising with them, leaving the physical world of stone and velvet behind, ascending into the quiet, cool air, where only rest exists. As you lie here, look up toward your own ceiling, or imagine the sky opening up above you and see those soft, drifting clouds. Feel your mind becoming light, thinning out, expanding. You are no longer bound by the gravity of your worries or the heaviness of your day. You are airy, you are silent, and you are drifting. See a thought, a small whisper of a worry, appear in your mind. Watch it drift toward the horizon. See it thin out, stretch, and fade away into the deep blue of the night. It is gone. It was only a cloud. You are floating in the quiet currents of sleep. There is nothing to hold you down, nothing to catch your attention. You are simply drifting, a soft presence in a vast, calm expanse of peace. The air is cool and refreshing, and the night is wide and inviting. Let yourself be carried further away from the waking shore, deeper into the infinite cloud-softened dark. You are letting go of everything. You are weightless. You are drifting into the deep, restorative silence, where the only thing that remains is the gentle, steady rhythm of your own peaceful breath. You are drifting. You are floating. You are asleep. As the night deepens, the air outside the palace walls becomes heavy with the subtle, intoxicating fragrance of the night-blooming flowers in the garden. It is a scent that is barely there, a whisper of jasmine, the cool sweetness of damp moss, and the faint, earthy musk of roots reaching deep into the soil. Elizabeth would catch the scent on the breeze as it drifted through the half-open window, a gentle reminder that even while the world slept, the natural world continued its quiet, life-giving work. It was a protective perfume, an invisible barrier of peace that sealed the chamber against the outside world. There is a unique stillness in a garden at midnight. It is a place where every leaf and stem is perfectly composed, drinking in the cool moisture of the air. To Elizabeth, this scent felt like an invitation to surrender, It was the smell of the earth, the smell of beginnings and endings, a fragrance that grounded her and drew her closer to the heart of the night. She didn't need to see the flowers, she only needed to breathe in their presence to know that everything was exactly where it should be. It was a scent that spoke of deep, slow and restorative growth. She would close her eyes and imagine the garden unfolding around her, not as a place to walk, but as a place to dissolve into. The scent seemed to fill the room, softening the corners, mellowing the light, and turning the very air she breathed into something rich, nourishing, and calm. It was as if the night itself were exhaling, releasing a breath of pure floral silence. With every inhalation, she felt her own spirit becoming quieter, more settled, more attuned to the gentle rhythmic heartbeat of the earth. As you lie here, draw in a long, slow breath and imagine that same scent filling your own sanctuary. It is the smell of a garden under a full moon, cool, sweet, and profoundly peaceful. Let this fragrance clear your mind of any remaining clutter. With every breath, feel the tension leaving your body. Replaced by the cool, grounding essence of the earth, you are breathing in the tranquility of the night. You are exhaling all the noise of your day. The scent is a blanket of soft, floral mist that wraps around you, keeping you warm, keeping you safe, and keeping you in this state of perfect, undisturbed rest. There is nothing else to do but breathe in and out. The air is sweet, the room is still, and your mind is becoming as deep and calm as the soil beneath the flowers. You are merging with the night, becoming part of its quiet, blooming beauty. You are drifting into the deepest, most fragrant sleep, held in the cradle of the silent, nocturnal garden. Everything is sweet, everything is quiet, you are asleep. Tucked into the corner of the velvet cushions lie smaller pillows embroidered with delicate, shimmering silver thread. These threads are cool to the touch, reflecting the moonlight with a metallic, moon-bright glow that seems to pulse softly in the dark. While the gold threads spoke of warmth and completion, these silver stitches speak of clarity, of midnight dew, and of the crystalline stillness of a winter sky. Elizabeth found that resting her cheek against the fabric, feeling the cool, smooth texture of the silver embroidery, was a sensory anchor that tethered her to the present moment. There is a purifying quality to the silver. It feels as though with every touch it draws away the excess heat of the day, leaving the skin and the mind feeling refreshed and renewed. In the deep quiet of the late night, these pillows are like small glowing constellations. They do not demand her attention, they simply exist, shimmering in the shadows, waiting for her to drift toward them. They are the perfect resting place for a mind that wishes to be clean, sharp, and entirely undisturbed. She imagined that these threads were woven from the light of the moon itself. As she lay back, the coolness of the silver seemed to flow into her, a gentle, soothing current that quieted the rapid pace of her thoughts. It was a mental palate cleanser, wiping away the complexities of court life and leaving behind only a blank, silver canvas of possibility. There was no need to dream of anything specific. There was only the need to exist, cool and clear, in the vast, quiet expanse of the night. As you lie here, feel the presence of these silver-threaded pillows near you. Imagine the cool metallic sheen of the embroidery, catching the moonlight in your room. If your head feels heavy with the thoughts of the day, let them rest upon this silver light. Feel the coolness drawing the warmth and tension from your brow, leaving your skin soft and your mind perfectly still. It is a refreshing, clean sensation that settles into your very core. You are becoming cool and clear, like the surface of a mountain lake under the moon. All the chaotic, bright colours of your day are fading, replaced by the soft, silvery, monochromatic peace of the night. You are unburdened, you are clarified, and you are entirely at rest. Let your breath follow the shimmering straight lines of the silver embroidery. Calm, precise, and beautiful, you are sinking into a state of pristine stillness. You are drifting into the dark silver ocean of sleep, where everything is bright, quiet, and eternally calm. You are resting, you are asleep. Around the perimeter of the room, heavy curtains of deep-hued velvet have been drawn tight, acting as a final silent barrier between the chamber and the world beyond. These curtains are thick and imposing, their weight absorbing every stray sound, the rustle of leaves, the distant movement of guards, the occasional whistle of the wind. Elizabeth often looked at these curtains with a profound sense of gratitude. They were the architects of her solitude, transforming the room into a self-contained sanctuary, a velvet fortress, where time and noise could not intrude. There is a sense of utter finality in the closing of such curtains. It marks the moment when the outer world ceases to exist for her. Within the folds of this heavy fabric, the air feels stiller, warmer, and more intimate. She felt as though she were encased in a protective layer of silence. The velvet, so dense and rich, doesn't just block the light, it swallows the very concept of outside, leaving only the quiet, enclosed reality of the now. It is the ultimate comfort, knowing that for the next several hours nothing can touch her, nothing can reach her, and nothing can disturb the sanctity of her rest. As she lay in the dark, she would listen to the absolute lack of sound. It is a heavy blanketed silence, the kind that only exists when a space is completely sealed. She was no longer a person of title or duty. She was simply a being in a quiet room, wrapped in the protective embrace of her own creation. The weight of the curtains felt like a comforting hand pressed against the world, holding it back so she could drift away. It was a liberation, a release, a perfect isolation that led directly into the heart of the dream state. As you lie here, imagine those heavy plush curtains surrounding your own space. Visualize them pulled completely closed, a solid, soft wall of darkness that seals you away from everything that happened before this moment. Feel the weight of that silence. It is not an empty silence, it is a full protective presence. If you have been keeping any part of your mind alert, guarding it against the world, you may now let that guard down. The fortress is sealed, you are protected, you are utterly alone, and you are entirely safe. Feel your consciousness withdrawing from the borders of your room and settling into the center of your own quiet heart. The world is far away, lost behind the velvet. There is only this room, this bed, and this beautiful, dense stillness. You are sinking into it, merging with the quiet, becoming part of the hush. You are drifting toward the deepest point of sleep, carried by the feeling of being completely and perfectly held. Everything is sealed, everything is silent. You are ready, you are resting, you are asleep. The last candle has burned down to a mere spark, and the chamber is now filled with the gentle, velvety darkness of midnight. Every object, the soft silk pillows, the heavy velvet curtains, the faint golden shimmer of the embroidery, has served its purpose. They have anchored the mind, eased the body, and created a sanctuary of perfect, unassailable peace. Elizabeth feels as though the boundaries of her own body are softening, becoming as fluid and light as the air around her. There is no longer a self to carry, no longer a day to remember, and no tomorrow to anticipate. There is only this singular, expansive moment of release. To rest is to surrender. It is the final, ultimate act of trust. Elizabeth closes her eyes, feeling the stillness of the room seep into the very marrow of her bones. The silence is no longer something she listens to, it is something she has become. The distinction between her own quiet breathing and the silence of the room has disappeared. She is part of the architecture, part of the darkness, part of the infinite, rhythmic pulse of the night. It is a state of total dissolution, where the individual consciousness floats out like a feather on a calm, dark lake. There is nothing left to hold. The effort of existing has ceased. The world of duties, of decisions, of memory, and of expectation has dissolved into the deep, dark, and beautiful void of sleep. It is a space without walls, without time, and without weight. It is a return to the source, a quiet, pristine, and complete state of being. The long journey through the quiet room has brought her to the threshold of the deep, dreamless rest, and now she simply steps across. She is no longer moving, she is simply perfectly and eternally at rest. As you lie here, you are reaching the final edge of your own journey. Every part of you, your mind, your body, your spirit, is perfectly aligned with the silence. You have let go of every burden, every thought, and every sensation. You are weightless, suspended in the soft, dark velvet of the night. Feel yourself becoming lighter, softer, almost transparent. The boundaries of your room are fading. The world is gone, and there is only this infinite, gentle, and welcoming dark. Give yourself permission to fully dissolve. Let your consciousness drift like a shadow, like a dream, like a soft breath into the vastness. There is no you to worry anymore. There is only the peace, the deep, dark, and wonderful quiet of the sleep you have earned. You are sinking. You are floating. You are vanishing into the perfect stillness. Everything is gone. Everything is quiet. Everything is still. You are completely asleep. Rest, rest, rest. Sleepy History with Kevin is created for relaxation, entertainment, and sleep purposes. The stories shared on this channel are inspired by historical events, daily life, and real periods in history, but they may be simplified, adapted, or narrated in a calming way to enhance the listening experience. This content is not intended to be a precise academic or educational source. While we aim to stay generally accurate, some details may be altered for storytelling flow and relaxation. Please do not rely on this channel as a primary source for historical research or study. By listening, you acknowledge that this content is designed to help you unwind, relax, and fall asleep. Thank you for your understanding and support.